Hello and welcome back. My name's Yolanda and I also go by the Pixel T here on YouTube. I haven't done a live in a long time, so I'm a little rusty. I'm just going to take my time. If anybody's here, just let me know in the chat if you can hear me. And if you can also hear the music, I'd really appreciate it. Feeling a little tribal tonight. Feeling like I want to have conversations and connect with a tribe of people who have come to this understanding and how they have figured it out for themselves. I'm actually a little surprised that I'm going to go where I'm going to go tonight, because I've seen and heard of other YouTubers and channels talk about this concept of the world and how they see it. But in this stream, you guys, you viewers may explore the fascinating phenomenon of magnetism with me. From its intricate workings at the microscopic level to its influence on the larger cosmic structures. The discussion may search into how magnetism plays a crucial role in shaping the universe. From the formation of the galaxies to the behavior of the celestial bodies, viewers can expect to gain insights into the interconnectedness of magnetism with various aspects of creation, offering a deeper understanding of the fundamental forces that govern our world. So that is what the description is in the video. I'm also going to share some of my AI art that I've done through the years, and also some of my albums that I've created here on this old computer of mine and share them with you guys. The interesting thing about looking through is the patterns that I find in myself and how I have to organically figure these things out on my own. I also pulled up some old journals so that I can show you that this is an ongoing cycle of patterns in my life. So even looking here on my streams, my past live streams, I keep on going back to the same things, which is how the celestials go through cycles. And we're going to do another one about it tonight. So tonight's first video that I'm going to share with you is going to give you a breakdown of the anatomy of the eye. And then eventually we're going to talk about how the eye works. And then we're going to listen to a lecture about how the eye receives its electricity or its magnetism through the eye with the sun. And then eventually it's going to also talk about how it activates the brain. So many of us that have been researching these spiritual path of understanding, you can see these same patterns in scriptures and in different religious practices. So I'll also play you a short video of that, because I started to realize in scripture how to apply those teachings to the temple. So that's was my introduction to seeing patterns because I was organically doing it myself through my prayer, breathing practices, diet, exercise, and etc. Sometimes it increases and it decreases. So let's go ahead and get the presentation started. Bear with me here for a moment. There we go. That's what I needed. And again, if any of you would give me a thumbs up or thumbs down if you can hear these videos. How the eyes work.
Light passes into the eyes through the cornea, which is also called windows of the eyes, and then through anterior chamber, into the pupils, the round opening, in the center of the iris. The iris, which are a flat, colored, ring-shaped membrane behind the cornea of the eyes, may dilate or constrict to determine how much light gets to the lens. Then, the lens moves light through the clear cavity, called the vitreous, and focuses it on the retina. The retina then converts this light energy into electrical impulses, and passes it through the optic nerve, also called the second cranial nerve. These impulses then travel through the optic nerve into the primary visual cortex, which is located in the most posterior portion of the brain's occipital lobe. While it may sound like a lengthy process, but takes only about 13 milliseconds. Light passes into
Anatomy of eye. If we look at our eyes from the outside, the first thing we notice is that it blinks and the eyelids help the blinking to take place. However, what exactly is an eyelid? What receives the light energy? Which structure let us see at night? Let us take a closer look. The eyelid has three main functions. It protects the eyeball, opens and closes by voluntary or reflex action, and the blinking keeps surface of the eye and the conjunctiva moist. The eyelash are the short hair projecting from the border of the eyelid and traps large airborne particles. Conjunctiva is the thin epithelium covering surface of the eyeball, secretes mucus to lubricate, clean, and maintain moisture. Next comes the cornea, which is a transparent, curved layer that bears.
So again, I'm going over the anatomy of the eye because I am seeing these patterns from micro to macro. That's what I'm going to focus on here in these videos. And the magnetism from the smallest of molecule all the way to the cosmos in the universe, the celestials and such. So let's do the presentation of the eye so we have an understanding of what this neurosurgeon is going to tell us here in a few moments.
Bends light to converge at lens. The aqueous humor is a transparent, watery liquid in the anterior cavity. It has two main functions. It is a medium for diffusion of oxygen and nutrients. Secondly, it refracts light and maintains shape of the eyeball. Iris is pigmented with color and has radial and circular muscles that regulate the amount of light entering the eye. The round hole at the center of the iris, through which light enters, is called a pupil. The lens is soft, transparent, and elastic in nature. It helps to focus light onto the retina. Suspensory ligaments hold the lens in place. Ciliary body is a muscle that is able to contract and relax. This contraction adjusts the focus strength of the lens when seeing near or distant objects. Vitreous humor is a transparent jelly-like substance at the rear of the eye. It refracts light and, together with aqueous humor, maintains the shape of the eyeball. The retina is the light-sensitive layer of the eye and bear photoreceptor cells called rods and cones. These cells convert electromagnetic waves from light energy to electrochemical signals that can be interpreted by the brain. These waves are transmitted via the optic nerve, which contains sensory nerves. Blind spot is the place where nerve fibers connecting rods and cones leaves the eye and has no photoreceptor cells. The process of seeing, in a nutshell, is mediated by the ability of cells in the retina to absorb light rays from objects that enter our eyes. Vision fields of both eyes overlap to form a stereoscopic, three-dimensional vision, and the brain translates information from both eyes to form an image. The middle layer on top of the retina is called choroid. It has black pigments and prevents one internal refraction of light. Next comes the sclera, a tough, opaque, non-elastic layer on the outside of the eyeball and helps to maintain the shape of the eyeball. Eye muscle holds the eye in place. Lacrimal
So I learned a lot from just doing a little bit of research after I had watched the presentation that's going to be done by the neurosurgeon. Um, I needed to go back and look at the definitions and the terms that he was using. And then watched a handful of these videos about how the eye works, only because I can see this myself in meditation. And I know I'm not the only one that can do it. So I know that eventually throughout the conversation tonight, um, I'll show you why I keep referencing that I can see it myself within.
gland or tear gland secretes tears. According to a study conducted in 2018, there are 3 types of tears: basal, reflex, and psychic. It is amazing that even though the same gland releases them, they vary in composition according to when they are released. Basal tears. These tears are always present in the eye, ensuring that the cornea is kept lubricated and nourished. The thin layer also smoothens the irregularities and creates a very even surface for optical quality. Its composition contains natural antibiotics, which prevent eye from getting antibacterial infections. Reflex tears. These tears are secreted in response to a sudden external factor or stimulus, causing irritation in the eye. For example, foreign particles such as dust and chemical substances such as onion vapors and tear gas. The principle of reflex tears.
So even just hearing that, how the eye responds and has all of those protective layers, and when those different protective layers are damaged or sick, what happens to the eye? And the sun right now could be like an iris. I'm going to use that as an example right now, and it's beating through all of the different layers protecting us here, like the dome, like an eye. I know, we're going eyeball Earth here, folks. Okay, yeah, okay, but let me show you why. just, just trust me, okay? Everybody has to see it for themselves. And like I said earlier, I'm going to show you some of my artwork, and let me show you the first one. I did this 20 years ago. Oops. Come on, camera, you can pick it up. Darn. Well, you can see little glimpses of it for some reason. I don't know why it doesn't want to catch it. Well, that's a black and white. Maybe if I put it up against me. Nope, still doesn't want to catch it. You can see it a little bit. And you see how I even did the spiral? I had no idea. These were doodles. I've been doing these since I was a little girl. But I did this one about 20 years ago. So that's my first little patterns for this evening. I think you guys get the point of where I'm going with this eyeball video. So let's do the next one. It's just going to give us more information about how the eye works. This is EntertheStars. I know that I highly recommend this channel. This is a Christian channel, and how he uses scripture and his awareness through his religious practice. And here is a clip of a video that he suggests to check out his website.
Hey guys, EntertheStars. And what you're looking at is the intraocular current of the vitreous humor of the center of your eye. And in the link in the description is a full-length video explaining this brand new discovery that seems to match the current of stars racing across the heavens in the north and southern portions of our sky from the equator. Click on the link in the description for the full-length video on my website. Take care and be safe, you guys.
Yes, that's Mr. Casey. So I'll go ahead and share the link to that video in the chat, and then you can go ahead and check out in his description to get to his website to hear the rest of this. But this was a Christian man's, he's going to connect it in terms of scripture about eyeball Earth. Technically eyeball Earth. Let me see. Here's a second one that I did one night. I couldn't sleep, and so I did this little diagram, and I wrote on there, this is 2020 at 10 o'clock at night, and I called it Returning to Source. Those are the notes, because I would write notes to how I was feeling when I would make this pattern, because I've done it so many times. Let's see here. Oh, see? 20 years ago was an eye in the sky. Well, when I do my AI slideshow, I thought, again, it's the same pattern. And it's led me to these videos, which then led me to re-looking through scripture and what books that I have here and my artwork and my journals. Let's get back to this. So here is the neurosurgeon.
That changes to an electromechanical wave. That's called sound. That sound
Dr.
is
Jack
collected in water.
Cruz.
Now, here's the interesting thing. Water is a magnetic dipole. What does that mean? Hydrogen and oxygens.
Doggone it. My fault.
Light was able to make chemicals in us that weren't there before. When I saw this, I immediately realized that everything in medicine was completely ass backwards. And nobody has told you why. I'm telling you why right now. Because you're blue light toxic. Blue light makes you fat. What I tell you my day job was, I'm a neurosurgeon, right? The alpha wave in the human brain is 7.83 hertz, exactly the same. You have this direct loop that goes to the pineal gland, but the energy comes in here. This energy has to be balanced, blue and red. What does this first do? It turns your pituitary gland on. So that's why I stopped operating at 7 a.m. You need to question everything. You're looking at a guy speaking to you right now who doesn't believe pretty much anything he learned in medical school can be taken with any truth. The answers are right in front of us, folks. Even though the answers are right in front of us, if your dopamine level is low, you will not perceive the truth right in front of your face. Energy and mass are exactly the same thing. The only thing that's different is the environment that each side of the equation is in. Now, the pupil is a perfect black box radiator. What does that mean? Because we're doing a little physics here. It means that light can go in and come back. How did I know immediately that UV light got through? I challenge anybody to go to batteries and bulbs, buy a UVA light, flashlight, LED, put it in anybody's retina. You know what you'll see? You'll see fluorescence come right back. You don't need anything else. So every time the ophthalmologist, like when I gave this talk 3 months ago and I proved to them, they were full of That's how I did it. I brought a UVA flashlight and shined in all their eyes. I said, what'd you see? Explain, based on what we learned in medical school. That shut them up pretty quick, okay? Because you don't need a lot of photons to see the effect. This is something that everybody in this room can do, reproducible. So when you go to the ophthalmologist, you can say, I don't believe what you're telling. But here's the key. You guys have heard from all your food gurus that you've heard previously talk in all these other years about tryptophan, about tyrosine, about phenylalanine, and histidine. But you know what you don't know about aromatic amino acids? They all absorb UV light. Did you know that? Well, I didn't 12 years ago. But the key thing is the eye is loaded with these amino acids specifically. So that raised a question. Why is this? Well, I found out from physics that a benzene ring, which is in every single aromatic amino acid, is a photon trap. And they absorb all frequencies of UV light. So guess what that means? That 250 to 380 is absorbed by this. That's the reason why we don't see it, because it's designed to do something different. So there's something that started. Pollack's book came out in 2014. There's two researchers named Gelduce and Perparta. In 2000, they found that the EZ forms something called the coherent domain. 13% of the exclusion zone in water, when sunlight hits water, makes something called the coherent domain, which makes 1 million electrons, free electrons, delocalized to run all the biochemical programs. Does anybody know how many biochemical programs run per second in a cell? It's 100,000. Guess what has the control of those enzymatic flux? If you ask any PhD or any nutritionist at all, the answer is they don't know the answer. But guess what? It turns out light frequencies can control all of them by a molecular resonance phenomenon. And that is how biochemistry works. Now, this one is for the McKissick lecture. Everything that she told you is in this slide. So if you want to learn how light works, here you go. This is a protein. UV light hits it. That is a light antenna. It's surrounded by water. Light is an electromagnetic wave that changes to an
Okay, let me see. So you see that antenna that he's talking about right now? 10 years ago, I did this painting, or I bought like a cheapy little watercolor set at the dollar store. And doggone it, I don't know where I put it. Anyway, that's what I'll show you. And this makes sense because I actually painted that. Oh, wait, here it is. And this is why I know that I'm on the right path organically. Let's see here. You see that? I saw that through one of the most intense meditations I had ever had, the most incredible prayer, and that's what I saw. I had to go in and paint what I saw, and you can see all of the colors that I have right around in here. It's all the rainbow. It's all the different colors of the rainbow. And then that thing in the middle, I didn't know what the heck it was, and that's exactly what it reminds me of. So you can see within, is my point.
An electromechanical wave that's called sound. That sound is collected in water. Now, here's the interesting thing. Water is a magnetic dipole. What does that mean? Hydrogen and oxygens, positive and negative. That's the reason why it's tied to magnetism. The first time that we found out that magnetism truly controls sound, Ohio State University Acoustic Phonons 2014. You can look it up. When the light hits here, it's absorbed in the water. That changes the hydrogen bonding networks. What is the physical change? The physical change is the density of the water. That is how this works. Fundamentally, quantum mechanically. Now, here's the interesting thing. Mitochondria makes the cytosolic water that surrounds all the things in the cytosol, including the nucleus and the mitochondria. Where is this connection?
You guys all know that when we play these videos, we have to stop them and give a little bit of feedback. It's all electromagnetism, folks. So here's the micro of the electromagnetism that I hope to show you guys by the end of tonight's stream.
Well, for those of you who don't know, the Schumann resonance comes from the interaction of sunlight on the ionosphere of the Earth. That's why people call it the heartbeat of Earth. But it's an electrical tension that develops between the solar plasma and the atmosphere that generates the 7.83 hertz. Why do you need to know about it? What I tell you my day job was, I'm a neurosurgeon, right? The alpha wave in the human brain is 7.83 hertz, exactly the same. So guess what? The solar system entrains you to these solar systems as it comes to Earth. That's how it works, okay? Why is it important? It generates the alpha wave. So when you live in an environment today, you don't have as many alpha waves. Why? Because non-native EMF, what's the #1 effect, which you'll learn about later, dehydrates your cells because it lowers your redox potential in your mitochondria. In other words, original slide, you can't make as much water from your own mitochondria. That's where the dehydration comes in. For the ladies in the room or the guys in the room who are not big science people, simple biohack at home, take a piece of steak that you have left over, throw it in the microwave, taste it. What does it taste like? Shoe leather. Why? What do microwaves do? They vibrate and rotate water really fast. It heats up and it dehydrates the meat. It's happening to you right now here in Vermont. It's happening to all of us because of these shitty lights that we have. Getting back to the topic, the eye, the SCN is the big focus. In medicine, the big focus is on the camera. That's why all these old people go see the ophthalmologist. And
Okay, let me give you a sneak peek, okay? Because I really liked what they just showed in terms of the diagram. Regardless if this is real or it's not, because we can't always believe what some of these photos that have been through the dark web and through the internet all these years, if they are just AI, right? But eventually we're going to get to this, right? I think these are AI, but still, okay? So we just saw the micro, that's what we're listening in on the micro. And this is why I'm going macro, okay? And understanding why people talk about eyeball Earth. But what does that remind you of just looking at the video? I know, I'm losing my mind. I'm losing my mind.
well, they get cataract surgery, right? Anybody know what they put in for cataract surgery after it's done? An implantable lens. And guess what that lens blocks? UVA, UVB, 100%, and also these days, 50% of blue light, in case you didn't know that. That's been a change since 2009. What people don't realize, 42% of sunlight that falls to Earth is infrared A light. It's balanced all the time by blue, okay? Especially when the sun rises. Now, this is a side picture of an eyeball. What you need to know, and this goes back to physics, in case you don't, blue light bends the most by gravitational lensing. It turns out this is important in the eye because when blue light comes through, it falls in front of the retina. That's the reason why when you use a computer screen or you use these horrible lights up here, you get visual obscuration. In other words, your vision gets worse. What does that cause? It causes you elongation of your eyeball. When your eyeball gets longer, you get myopia. What happens when you get
So this tech is not helping, right? At the end of the day, all the UV light, it's dehydrating the eyeball. We don't want dehydrated eyeballs, folks.
At myopia, the next step is you get retinal detachments. What's the end result? Acute macular degeneration. Anybody know anybody who's got that? Yeah, lots of people. And guess what else? Guess what causes cataracts? Blue light toxicity. Why? The brain is trying to protect itself from this light that's coming in, so it makes the lens hazy, so this doesn't happen. But why is it important to a mitochondriac? Well, it turns out in about 2003, 2004, through 2009, we had some really cool researchers that found out there's another opsin in the eye. And that opsin works with the retinal ganglion cells, and that's called melanopsin. Melanopsin is the hormone that runs the central retinal pathways in the eye. And it turns out they're really important at nighttime, and they link to melatonin, but not in the way most people think. The fovea is where the rest of the visual light spectrum fall. And it falls right here. Why? That's acute vision. That's your camera focus. That's what the ophthalmologists all pay attention to. They don't pay attention to this. The only ophthalmologists that do, you're going to hear about later, are the Japanese guys, who are the guys that I talked to 3 months ago. They've been on this way quicker than our American counterparts. But here's the key. I'm going to make a very controversial statement now for many people in this room. Central retinal pathway energizes everything distal to it. So let me explain that to you. It basically turns on your pituitary gland, and it turns on everything distal in the human brain. And I'm going to show you how. This paper, or I should say this gentleman, his name is Fritz Hollwich. He was an amazing cat. He was an ophthalmologist in Germany. He was born in the 1920s. He happened to live in a time where we didn't have intraocular lenses. One of the things that he noticed is that when he saw people with cataracts, he would cut the cataract out so they could see. And for those of you who don't know, this is what happened to Vincent van Gogh. You know, when he painted haystacks, the reason why he painted them in all different colors is because when you take a cataract out and you don't put a lens in, you can see UV. In case you didn't know that. So that's the reason why haystacks has all the different shades, because he was able to see it in so many different colors as the light changed. Well, it turns out this doctor actually practiced medicine in a time that we could never reach.
Okay, hold on a second. They cut the cataract out, and then you could see the UV. So that's almost reminds me of like a cataract. This is the eclipse, that really big eclipse that happened. Was that last year when everyone was freaking out? Going all crazy like the cones from the alignment, even though eclipses happen all over. Anyways. Now, eventually we're going to play another video of Mr. MBB333, and he caught the same thing. And I caught this on Miss Gina was talking about that planet that she's been looking in those FAA cameras. We're going to show that as well. And I kid you not, this is everyone's been talking about this, what is this, The Economy magazine? The Economist. And we're going to talk about this too. Look at that. It's in the shape of, some say it's the shape of a face. I think it's the shape of the sun. But we'll get to that. We'll get to that. So right now we're having major sun activity, and we're having all the auroras coming in because there's no protective cataract up there protecting us from the UV. I'm just thinking in terms of micro to macro, right? Maybe I'm stretching.
Recapitulate now. That's why sometimes looking back is a good thing. And I started to look really far back. In fact, as a neurosurgeon, these guys, especially Cajal in 1891, he's the father of modern neuroanatomy. I started to find papers about this energetic pathway that has huge effects on growth and metabolism through the eye. You didn't hear me say gut. You didn't hear me say food, did you? Turns out that Hallwich did something rather remarkable. And he wrote about it in this book here from 1979. And I guarantee you, nobody in this room's ever read it. If you think Weston A. Price's book is huge, you should read this sucker, because it's unbelievable what he did. He basically took cataracts out of people and then noticed and watched them and saw that their growth and metabolism improved tremendously. They started to lose weight. They started to feel better. They started to sleep better. And he documented it all. And guess what? He didn't just do it in humans. He did it in all kinds of animals. And he documented the color changes that occurred on animals after he took the cataracts out, how their coats changed, their surfaces, how they started to act on the farm. Okay? That's how important this was. And he went even further. He checked their urine. And you know what he found? He found there was metabolites of hormones that occurred after he took the cataract out that weren't there before. So in other words, light was able to make chemicals in us that weren't there before. Doesn't that sound a lot like E equals MC squared? Like, how did light get turned into things with structure? How does this really happen? Do you really think that you need it all from diet and exercise? There's another way. Most of the ophthalmologists I talked to 3 months ago didn't know a damn thing about Fritz Hallwich. And he was an ophthalmologist and well published. And the crazy thing is there was another guy that you're going to learn about a little bit later named John Ott. And you know what he was famous for? He was Walt Disney's animator that did time-lapse photography. Turns out he made some key investigative slides for Disney and dropped it, but then he took it to the medical boards and different physicians who let it go by the wayside. And what he found is that when he took plants and he put them in different light, the chloroplast molecules rotated faster than not. Then he decided to do it on animals, and he found out that one of the cells in the eye called the retinal pigmentum epithelium, which you're going to hear about shortly, at the base of the eye has melanin granules that absorb what? UV light, because it's made out of those things that we talked about, rotates faster, and guess what it makes? What Ruben talked about, a DC electric current in the eye. So that means you can regenerate tissues when you...
Okay, let me see if I didn't load that one. Well, when I play my playlist, there's another photo that I have that is like one of these, and it shows that lit up like that. The diagram that he just showed. Crazy.
You have a high DC electric current. Isn't that right, Ruben? Didn't Becker tell us that? Isn't that interesting? He went even further. And this is probably one of the most counterintuitive things I'm going to tell you. This is a picture of people's pituitary glands who were blind and who could see. What did he do? He went the extra distance. This is what I want you to focus in on. Light slows, energy is lost, the pituitary gets bigger. When I saw this, I immediately realized that everything in medicine was completely ass backwards. Why? Why did I say that to you? Everybody in this room, except the people that heard me talk last year, believe that people get fatter because they eat too much. Turns out it's exactly the opposite. So when you sprain your ankle, does your ankle get bigger or smaller? Okay. When you have heart failure, does your heart get bigger or smaller? Okay. Just so you know, he said it gets bigger. Here's the third one. When the star in the sky dies, does it get bigger or smaller? It gets a red giant. So everything that loses energy in the universe gets bigger. What did Hallwich tell us? Hallwich showed that when light slows, the pituitary gets bigger. You know why it's getting bigger? Because light is getting turned into chemicals that you call hormones that go in to the nuclear DNA to change it. Guess what that means? That means light is capable of altering DNA. It also means that light is capable of potentially reversing my previous problem. Meaning that when you're obese, maybe your main problem is you're not getting enough sunlight, and it has nothing to do with food. How's that for a shocker? That's what Fritz Holwich taught me. So I didn't believe any of this. And most of you may not know this, but I went to medical school at LSU. And there's a very, very famous ophthalmologic researcher named Nicholas.
Hold on a second. Even that symbol that I just saw. Oh my gosh. The symbols, they're everywhere. Oh my goodness.
On, who's done incredible work. And you know what he's cut his teeth on? DHA. He's like the DHA guy in the world. And I learned this back in 95 through 99 when I was there. He taught me a lot of crap. And crap that I thought was crap because it wasn't important to neurosurgery, but 12 years ago it became extremely important to me. Right now, it's huge. And the number one effect right here in this central retinal pathway between the clock and your hypothalamus, you have two loops in the eye. One loop's called the short loop, the other one's called the long loop. And what it does, it recycles DHA constantly as light.
Take a good look at that circuitry. The X, it looks like a the flux capacitor. Look at this design. Kind of reminds me of what we saw in those Egyptian temples of when the light would activate, and what those, we're not sure if they're light bulbs or what the heck they are, but it's showing electrical current and magnetism and the conductors for it. What do you guys think?
Comes through. But the key thing that I realized, Bazan taught me that this central retinal pathway and the retina had more DHA in it than any other part of the brain. And I thought that was bizarre. Then I realized why. When I started to learn about physics, remember the guys who came out with GPS devices, Garmin devices? Well, it turns out that the clock here has to run faster than all the other clocks in the rest of your body. If it doesn't work. So if you have an iPhone and you use it to go to a restaurant here in Vermont, the clock that's up in the sky up there has to run 38 microseconds faster than the one in your iPhone. Otherwise, you're going to be 100 kilometers off. That would not work. You'd wind up in New Hampshire. It wouldn't be good. It turns out in your eye, the exact same thing happens. And the reason why DHA in the eye is important, because this DC electric current runs faster than every other part of your body. That's the reason why DHA is important. And it turns out when you have too much blue light, because blue light is the antidote for vitamin A and for DHA. Do you know why? What kind of light makes vitamin A? Anybody want to guess? You heard somebody talk about it earlier. Blue light makes vitamin A. How do you know? What's the complementary color to blue? Yellow. And guess what? Vitamin A is yellow. Isn't that shocker? That's the link between this. Light frequencies control the level of vitamin A in the eye. And also, every opsin in the body is tied to retinol, to vitamin A. There's not an opsin in the human body that's not tied to it. That's the reason why, and Chris is here so he can verify this. He wrote a very nice blog post, I don't know how long ago it was, that there's data from N. Haynes that when you have deficiencies of vitamin A, it's tied to obesity. And nobody has told you why. I'm telling you why right now. Because you're blue light toxic. Blue light makes you fat. Okay? Really fat. And it starts right here. The reason why this is not equal is because light, the evolution of light, does not equal the evolution of our retinal anatomy. I started to put this together pretty quick. Then I started to look at sunrise and sunset. When the sun rises, you have visible and infrared light. You don't have any UV initially. But guess what else happens at this time? You don't need your rods and you don't need melanopsin in the morning. So guess when they regenerate? They regenerate in the AM. Guess what else happens? You actually make melatonin in your eye in the morning. The hormone of darkness is first made in the human body in the eye. In the morning, when you have a combination of UVA and infrared A light. And the reason for you is what I told you before about the aromatic amino acid that absorbs that. And you see that UVA light doesn't show up here. So for the guy last night, who I don't know who you are, but asked the question, how am I going to do this as an executive to fix my life? This is the key. You need to reconstruct your AM to fix your real problem. And that was what I had to do to my surgery schedule. That's why I stopped operating at 7 a.m. Started all my cases at 8:30. It's also the reason why I moved to the 28th latitude from where I lived. Why? Because UVA light shows up. Now, you guys here that live in Vermont got some bad news for you. If you've got a mitochondrial disease, which most diseases are, you need that UVA light, and it shows up later here than it does in New Orleans. So guess what that means? You need more control of your life in the morning than any other time. That's the practical advice, okay? These are not Jack Cruz's rules. These are the sun's rules, okay? Sunset, this is when you don't need color vision. This is the camera. They regenerate at nighttime. There's another opsin that you may not know about. It's called neuropsin. It's on the cornea of the eye, and it's on your skin. It's a UVA light detector. Melatonin is considered the hormone of darkness. Remember those photon traps I told you about? Well, guess what? That neuropsin tells the brain that UVA light is present, and it can begin to make melatonin from sunlight. Now, what are all the effects? Here's the quantum paradox. It's a nighttime hormone because that's what the functional medicine doctors in my profession have told you. And that's true because that's when it's active, but it only activates when light is not present, but it's remade first in the eye and then generalizes all along the brain. The other key thing, and I'll just point this out to you right here. This one should open everybody's eyes. It reduces energy production in mitochondria. UVA light turns down energy production. And why is that important? There's the fourth cytochrome is cytochrome C oxidase in everybody's mitochondria in here. Anybody want to guess what kind of light turns it on? Red light. UV light turns it off. And the reason why, what does UV light make in the skin or the eye? Nitric oxide. And guess what? That's why UV light lowers your blood pressure, because it causes 40 to 60% of dermal pooling, and it helps your heart. But what people don't realize the effect is, it turns off your ability to make ATP from food electrons. You have this direct loop that goes to the pineal gland, but the energy comes in here. This energy has to be balanced, blue and red. What does this first do? It turns your pituitary gland on. That's the reason why the question that was asked to Ruben before is extremely important. Blue light balanced by red is what turns on hormone production. If you look at a circadian mechanism, all the hormones are made usually from 6 to 10 in almost any medical textbook. They're assuming that you live around the 30th latitude. That's not true. It's different at different places, but it's a key. Anybody want a shocker? What turns off hormone production? UVA light on the skin, first time it shows up. UV light is what turns off in your blood plasma. This is the key, folks. Blue light that's man-made is absolutely destroying us, and it affects the way your mitochondria can handle electrons from food. That's where the food's.
So then there's something to these people that are labeled as conspiracy theorists about how they were changing all of the light in the light bulbs during the past 5 years now, in buses, in the streets, all of our light bulbs. Something to it.
Story comes in, because the more those respiratory proteins get stretched out, it doesn't matter what you eat, you're going to have a problem. You have to shrink those respiratory proteins closer together so they can do what they do. The laws of nature are not subject to man's beliefs. They're not subject to man's experiments. It's a pretty powerful statement. And you may think it's, I should say, obnoxious. I don't think it is, based on what I showed you. Why? Because now there's researchers out there showing you that it really does begin in the eye and in the skin. That's how leptin and all this is linked. And the cool thing about this, my prescription doesn't cost you a goddamn thing. And what did Einstein say? In the end, the answer will always be pretty simple. So what's my takeaway? Make like the Sphinx. Ground to the ground, take as much clothes off you can. For the ladies in the audience, there's a company in the UK, I'm putting this on Sarah. They're called Kaniki. They make bathing suits that allow UV penetration so you can be naked without naked. Okay? In and come back. How did I know?
Oh, doggone it, I messed it up. But anyway, you remember that one stream we did back, Sinesra, about the sun? There's something to the sun. Is that where we were at? Where were we at? I'll just go right there.
Present, and it can begin to make melatonin from sunlight. Now, what are all the effects? Here's the quantum paradox. It's a nighttime hormone because that's what the functional medicine doctors in my profession have told you. And that's true because that's when it's active, but it only activates when light is not present, but it's remade first in the eye and then generalizes all along the brain. The other key thing, and I'll just point this out to you right here. This one should open everybody's eyes. It reduces energy production in mitochondria. UVA light turns down energy production. And why is that important? There's the fourth cytochrome is cytochrome C oxidase in everybody's mitochondria in here. Anybody want to guess what kind of light turns it on? Red light. UV light turns it off. And the reason why, what does UV light make in the skin or the eye? Nitric oxide. And guess what? That's why UV light lowers your blood pressure because it causes 40 to 60% of dermal pooling.
Oh, doggone it. We already
and
saw
it helps
this
your
part.
heart.
Didn't we?
But what people don't realize the effect is it turns off your ability to make ATP
This is
from
where we
food
were at.
electrons.
Good grief.
You have this direct loop that goes to the pineal gland, but the energy comes in here. This energy has
Sorry
to be
about that.
balanced, blue and red. What does this first do? It turns your pituitary gland on. That's the reason why the question that was asked to Ruben before is extremely important. Blue light balanced by red is what turns on hormone production. If you look at a circadian mechanism, all the hormones are made usually from 6 to 10 in almost any medical textbook. They're assuming that you live around the 30th latitude. That's not true. It's different at different. I think it's, I should say, obnoxious. I don't think it is based on what I showed you. Why? Because now there's researchers out there showing you that it really does begin in the eye and in the skin. That's how leptin and all this is linked. And the cool thing about this, my prescription doesn't cost you a goddamn thing. And what did
Finally.
Einstein say? In the end, the answer will always be pretty simple. So what's my takeaway? Make like the Sphinx. Ground to the ground, take as much clothes off you can. For the ladies in the audience, there's a company in the UK, I'm putting this on Sarah. They're called Kaniki.
We just had a
They make
glitch in the
bathing
matrix,
suits
guys.
that allow UV
A hiccup.
penetration so you can be naked without naked. Okay? And I can tell you, coming from the South, it's my biggest problem. I think up here in Vermont, you guys are a little bit more hippie-ish and weird, so it probably would work, but you guys don't have great quantum yield here. So the reason I mention it to you is whatever you can do to help yourself. An infrared A light can work many different ways. We came up with the Quantlet, but you can use sauna. You can use the geothermal units like that you see in Iceland. That's the reason why the Finnish and the Scandinavians always use heated pools. Why? Because they're getting part of the sunlight they don't get through heating. Remember, heat is infrared light, and we don't realize it. When I gave this talk 3 months ago, and I
Touchy little mouse. But yeah, even the monkeys know to do it, right? They're not just doing it to get warm. They're trying to get that UV. So we have a better understanding now about the eyes and the brain and how that all works. So let's go. Let me think. Should we watch another video or should we look at some art? Let's do a little bit of good. Oh my gosh. Eventually I'll put the link down, but I know if I put that link down right now, I would not get through this shit. I get too distracted. So let me play these videos first, okay? All right.
The eyes of Ra and Horus are famous Egyptian symbols that are said to represent the opposite but complementary qualities of the sun and moon, the active and receptive, or generative and reflective principles. As the sun generates and emanates heat and light during the day, the moon receives and reflects this same energy at night. In anatomy, the fiery light of the sun and reflections of the moon symbolically relate to the eyes and the right and left hemispheres of the brain, our active and receptive attributes. In the ancient art of flame gazing, the eyes are kept open and unblinking while the line of sight is fixed on a naked flame until tears are drawn. This is called.
Okay, so in Christianity, the eye is often used as a metaphor representing the ability to see and perceive both physically and spiritually with good eyes, signifying a clear understanding of God's will and a focus on good things, while evil eyes represent greed, envy, and a negative outlook, often described as the lamp of the body, due to its role in guiding one's actions and perception of the world. The phrase apple of God's eye signifies being deeply cherished and protected by God.
Called Trataka in the Vedic teachings and quickfire in the Far East. The idea is to purify the eyes by washing them with tears. It is important to remember that no emotion is involved in this practice. It is the holding open of the eyes, the light of the flame, and the circulation of the energy that metaphorically draws out the tears. In a deeper anatomical analogy, the tears may be seen to bring a release of pressure within the central nervous system. When the creative energy is preserved and worked with, the cerebral spinal fluid becomes electrified and pressurized. The cerebral spinal fluid is a clear and colorless liquid. It is a saline solution, salty and slightly metallic to the taste, just like our tears. To the ancient masters and allegorists, this similarity would have indicated a release of pressure when tears were drawn, whilst also helping to raise the inner fire along the spinal cord. In this way, tears may be seen as a way of balancing our internal pressure whilst working with our personal energy. The Egyptian eye of Ra and Horus is often compared to the eye-like structure at the center of the human brain. Regularly connected to the pineal gland, this central structure is actually called the interthalamic adhesion. This little-known but important mass of gray matter connects the two hemispheres of the thalamus. The word thalamus means the inner chamber in Greek. Like the brain itself, the thalamus consists of two hemispheres, and the interthalamic adhesion is the bridge between the opposite lobes. This bridge-like structure is also enveloped and in close contact with the cerebral spinal fluid through its proximity to the third ventricle. A beautiful fact that is only just coming to light is that there is a marked difference between the length of this bridge in males and females. Females, on average, seem to have a longer bridge or interthalamic adhesion, thus widening the gap between the two hemispheres of the thalamus. This is important because in general, and we are all different of course, females are more receptive, more intuitive, and more reflective, like the moon.
This correlation may support the concept of the eye of Horus or Ra, representing the balancing of opposite principles, the sun and moon, or the left and right hemispheres of the brain. The interthalamic adhesion may relate to the receptive, reflective, and intuitive qualities of an individual. Therefore, this bridge would indeed be the all-seeing eye. The eye of Horus or Ra is depicted with both a feather and a spiral hanging from the eye itself. In the anatomical allegory, the feather represents a tear, and the two symbols together signify spiritual flight and clear vision. The spiral is said to be a tail. However, it may symbolize the galea of a butterfly, the curled tongue of the master of metamorphosis and transformation. The galea of the butterfly is used to draw up the sweet nectar from the glands and flowers of plants, the golden solar light in its physical manifestation. Interestingly, in Egyptian teachings, the tears of the sun god Ra were said to transform into honeybees when they hit the earth, thus supplying the people with the sweet dew of the sun itself. Honey. When we work with our creative energy, we help in the production of this metaphorical golden nectar deep within the glands of our brain. The ancient art of flame gazing is not only a tool to aid in the collection of this anatomical honey, but also a lesson in the anatomical allegory itself. The same may be said with the eye of Horus or Ra, a profound symbol of the ancient mysteries, a symbol of anatomical metamorphosis and transformation, a symbol of balanced forces that often tend in opposite directions, and a symbol of initiation into the mysteries of the flame of life, and the all-pervading fire of the sacred universal force. In Vedic teachings, the magical and transformative fluid, Amrita, is said to leak from the head center when the inner eye is opened. The concept of Amrita is a fascinating subject, rich with mythological, philosophical, and physiological significance. The nectar of immortality, Amrita, is a central element in Vedic stories, particularly in the tale of the churning of the ocean, known as Samudra Manthan in the ancient Sanskrit language. In this ancient text, the gods churn the milk-like oceans in search of the magical rejuvenating substance, Amrita. In Vedic lore, Amrita is more than just a mythical substance. It represents the ultimate goal of life, which is to attain a state of immortality in the spiritual rather than physical sense. The gods stirring and churning the primordial ocean in search of Amrita provides us with a metaphor for the spiritual quest for eternal truth, bliss, and the true potential of the human being. The quest for Amrita is often seen as an analogy for humanity's aspiration to transcend the confines of mortality and achieve everlasting life as spirit. This quest is represented in numerous Vedic rituals and practices designed to harmonize the human soul with the eternal and sacred laws of the cosmos.
Now, I know that I will be highly criticized for playing this and be labeled as this is new age nonsense. Well, no, actually, this is old age. Okay, this isn't new age nonsense. This is ancient practices that human beings all have the potential to do. I would not be so persistent about this if I had not experienced it for myself. Okay, I see these things, I feel these things, and through these, that's why I want to look at each religion, each culture, and how they speak about this. It belongs to all of us to be able to learn how to charge the body and use the body. That's how I felt the other day when I was in prayer outside underneath the sun. I felt the brain transitioning and doing different things, and my eyes were doing um, different movement. So I knew it. I just kept telling myself that I was charging my brain. The magnetism within all of it. Oh, good. Yeah, this is not new age nonsense. And let's see here. Hold on a moment. Is Charlie out? Sorry about that. Okay, I'm back. I don't remember what I was talking about, but we'll move on.
The philosophical roots of Amrita in Vedic thought are profound. Amrita's concept is closely linked with the soul's journey and the cycles of birth and rebirth. It represents the pursuit of ultimate liberation, moksha, wherein the soul escapes the cycle of samsara and attains a state of eternal bliss and enlightenment. On a physiological level, Amrita is said to be a transformative substance that can be obtained through the ancient practices of self-mastery. In yogic teachings, the practice of Kikari Mudra describes the cutting of the tongue to enable the adherent to stimulate, taste, and enhance the flow of Amrita from the base of the skull. A Hatha Yoga text, the Kikari Vidya, states that Kikari Mudra enables one to raise Kundalini and access various stores of Amrita in the head, which subsequently flood the body. Another text states, licking with his tongue the supreme nectar of immortality, Amrita, flowing there, the yogi should drink, and with a body as incorruptible as diamond, they live for 100,000 years. This is obviously not an advertisement for the cutting of the tongue or any other form of self-mutilation, but rather an attempt to highlight the location from which the sacred fluid flows and the evidence of its utilization within the body in ancient times. The Amrita comes from the head center and may well be the electrified cerebral spinal fluid. Leaking through the porous cribriform plate into the esophagus, the adherent swallows the Amrita into the belly, where it is then processed and circulated around the body. In ancient Greece, ambrosia was the legendary food of the gods, shrouded in the enigma of mythological lore. Comparable to the Vedic Amrita, it was thought to bestow immortality and perpetual youth on those lucky enough to partake of it. The ambrosia, or nectar of the gods, was said to be reserved solely for the divine deities and demigods. Mortals were generally forbidden from its knowledge and its use, and Greek legends often highlighted the consequences for those who attempted to go beyond this sacred boundary. The myth of Tantalus illustrates.
So I had to leave for just a minute, but I'm sure that he mentioned that, where is it? It's a Sanskrit word that means immortality, but the etymology of it is not. And murtyu, meaning death in Sanskrit. I don't even know, because it's showing a letter I'm not familiar with there, but murtyu? Geez, that's terrible. So meaning not death in Sanskrit. A holy grail, I suppose.
The error of hubris and its repercussions. In one of the stories of Tantalus, he tries to steal ambrosia from the gods and is punished in the depths of Tartarus by being surrounded by food and drink that he could never consume. Interestingly, this is where we get our English term to tantalize. In contrast to Tantalus, the Greek hero Heracles is given ambrosia by Athena, thus marking his acceptance into the divine realm and highlighting the substance's role in the transformation.
Now let that part be a preview for I'm going to play FPV Angel, and I'm going to play the part of his video where he actually describes with a diagram and everything what he just spoke about.
From mortality to divinity.
With the earth.
Ambrosia's transformative power is also evident in one of the legends of Achilles. In this telling of the tale, Achilles' mother, Thetis, anoints him with ambrosia by day and passes him through fire at night to burn away his mortality. This story exemplifies the potential of ambrosia to alter one's being, replacing mortal blood with ichor, the golden fluid that flowed in the veins of the gods. The role of ambrosia in Greek mythology is synonymous with the concept of Amrita in the Vedic teachings. It symbolizes humanity's fascination with immortality and the divine, representing the striving for
Okay, here's another symbol, right? We see this over and over again. Is this the outside is what they consider the Ouroboros. These are the planets, the luminaries. And is this Polaris and the sun? Curious.
transcendence and the search for a substance that can elevate one's existence to the realm of the gods. The myths surrounding ambrosia captivate the imagination and provide us with an allegory that can be interpreted in many ways. In the anatomical allegory, the ambrosia, amrita, or nectar of the gods is the electrified cerebral spinal fluid, heightened and stimulated by creative energy conservation and creative energy work. This vital fluid is said to leak through the porous cribriform plate at the base of the skull when the nervous system and head center is awakened. The magical and transformative liquid then begins its journey down the esophagus and into the belly, where it is transmuted and circulated by the body's various systems. This is the hero's brew of old, the drink of the champions of self-mastery, and the very sustenance of the gods themselves. The secretions from the nasal mucosa and nasal conchae are another possible source for the sacred flow. When the creative energy is conserved and circulated correctly, the oils and fluids of the body begin to flow more freely, and these liquids too are thought to be enlivened with beneficial elements and energies. The cribriform plate is a crucial structure located at the base of the skull. It acts as an important connection point between the outside world and the brain through the olfactory system, our sense of smell. This porous partition is composed of compact bone and contains many small holes called foramina. These foramina allow the delicate olfactory nerve fibers to pass from the nasal cavity to the olfactory bulbs located just above. The plate's location forms the roof of the nasal cavity and lies beneath the frontal and ethmoid bones. Its proximity to the brain, pituitary gland, cavernous sinuses, and hypothalamus makes it an ideal vent for the pressurized and activated cerebral spinal fluid, or the amrita. From the perspective of the ancient yogis, masters, and adepts of all traditions, this porous bone at the base of the skull must have been an ideal candidate for the access and egress point of the transformative nectar of the gods, the ambrosia, the magical amrita. There is another Greek legend that tells of the handsome cupbearer of the gods, Aquarius, who is tasked to serve the Greek deities with their restorative brew, the nectar. In the heavens, the constellation of Aquarius spills the waters, and in the age of Aquarius, the ancient knowledge once again begins to flow. And like the return of the rains after a long drought, the old wisdom brings fertile ground for the body, mind, and spirit. In the anatomical allegory, these are the waters of the awakened human nervous system, restored, renewed, and reborn.
So people have been practicing taking care of their body in all cultures, and they create their religions to help teach it to all of us. Yes, they do. So now I'm going to go ahead and show you my AI art. So what has it been, a year and a half now since Red Squid X introduced how to use the AI image creator, those great tutorials, and these are so much fun to do. I like to paint, I like to draw, I like to sculpt, and the AI generator has been a lot of fun. So I'll see you guys in the chat because my computer's so old that I can't talk during my computer's slideshow for. Hope you enjoy. Okay, so that's a year and a half worth of different prompts. And sometimes I can't help but see those darn patterns like, oh, huh. It means a lot coming from you, sir. The student, and I pay attention. That just proves that I pay attention. And these streams prove that I pay attention. So let's see here. Oh, wait. Oh. Why is it not working? My computer must be getting a little hot. Hold on. There it is. Yep, it got a little hot. Okay. So here is FPV, FPV Angel. And now he's going to give us the macro version of what we just learned about the eye.
In a few moments, this angel is going to change into its spirit world form, comprising a group of 4. I did this decode several months ago, which helped decode a great many other things which will follow. This, ladies and gentlemen, is what a group of 4 angels working together would look like. This is how they grace our world in their spirit form. Some are moving, many are stationary. They glide across our world every day doing their roles and processes. Sacred geometry also tells of their story. Our ancestors understood this very well. Do you recognize this? You should. This is Saturn. Saturn's rings are actually its own rainbow. Mama Angel had never seen Saturn before, so I recorded it on my P900 for her. This one's for you, Mama Angel. They say it is 886 million miles away. I don't think so.
I didn't catch that until just now. If that was Saturn, what the heck is this? Interesting.
The moon's rainbow. Under certain conditions, we get to see the moon's rainbow. Look for it and you shall see it. This applies to all of the wandering stars. I see you all, and I'm going to tell your story. First, we will deal with the base layers of 4. This is how I see their configuration and naming convention. Doesn't cutting Medusa's head off make more sense now? This also helped me decode the 400-year reset pole shift event further. Notice how the 4 halos create this configuration. Now I'm sure you have seen tornado events where the tornado is able to lift very heavy objects. This is due to the elevated North Pole of Eve, the largest halo. The spiraling process elevates its poles above itself. This is a localized shift in the North Pole from a passing angel. So do be sure to send us your waterspout, tornado and dust devil recordings, please. This will give you a better idea of what's taking place local to you. Notice the wind direction changes. The Walter-Russell decoder at the top confirms this is what takes place with their north poles. I will be able to make a better animation now with this information, which will be out later. Eve compresses the ether and passes it to Adam.
Remember when I said earlier on that video when he started to speak about Adam and Eve? This is where FPV is going to explain what that means. And I'm going to show you. Here's another. This is from 15 years ago. It was a sketch that I got up and I did. Oh, darn it. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it. And I had no idea what the heck I wasn't into researching all of these things like I am now. So that's why I can't help but feel like it's an organic understanding. And I showed you that one from earlier in the stream. This is from 20 years ago, a doodle that I did. Let me see. I don't know if you can see it, but that's pretty much what I was already drawing. There is something to different prophecies speaking about having amnesia. These different symbols that I drew for myself. I don't know. I thought I had another one in here that was kind of interesting. Oh, I know. I don't think you can see it. Darn it. Oh well. These are moments like when I thought I was losing my mind. Just come in here and write all this information down and draw those. Back to FPV.
Adam expands it into his layer. There is a two-way interchange taking place here, including voltages and elements. Layers and anvil clouds. You can see now why aircraft use the tropopause. They will be flying just above the male's spiraling pressure waves where the air is calmer. The image in the lower left is an anvil cloud. You can see how the top of it gets flattened by the male's horizontal waves, creating the infamous anvil shape. The Vesica Pisces is also clearly visible. Time-lapse cumulonimbus clouds and you will capture this event. There are interactions also taking place above these ones. Also notice the 4 layers in the Schumann resonance chart and the coherent and organized structure they can obtain. With anvil clouds, you will also notice smaller cumulus clouds rising from nearby in a supporting role. These are from smaller halos and don't appear to reach the heights of the larger halos column. Now we know the reason we see clouds traveling in different directions in different layers. They are all localized angel events taking place at different altitudes of operation. Analog and digital representations. In this decode, we see digital is not a new format. The ancients knew it very well. Their creation stories tell this truth. Walter Russell's mortar and the Great Pyramid also use this same design. It has been a blueprint throughout history. This is why it is called sacred geometry. Pillars, layers, and temples. In this decode, we see how temples represent the truths of the layers, the female vertical columns and the male horizontal planes. This can be found in every culture under many guises and depictions. Atlas is often featured in this role with his plasma torus field on his shoulders. Eve's cone even plays a part with her elevated North Pole. Statues such as Easter Island with a layer or hat on the heads are also depicting the layers. They represent columns and layers. This is how the angels elevate themselves into the sky. It is a very, very clever use of electromagnetics, electricity being 90 degrees in opposition to magnetism. The Sacred Cross decoded. The vertical bar represents magnetism and the horizontal bar represents electricity, or two angels' columns and layers in the ether. This applies to all crosses. The circle of the Celtic cross represents the plasma tora field or halo. The vertical is magnetism and the horizontal is electricity. The next few images are captures that you can try yourself. This is evidence of our research and has been our path for over 8 years now. There is an order to the creation of elements and the noble gases. This chart made by Walter Russell shows the order things are created in.
All motion is curved. All curves are spiral. All spirals are from the halos of angels.
Red, how many times have you created this in your AI generations? How many slides have you shown us with this symbol? In my own drawings, in my journal, I've got the same swirl in here too. So when I find these videos, I can't help but feel a type of way about them. You know, I really, when you're in tune, is my point.
The pressure waves.
As a group of 4, we create these 4 divisions, 2 male and 2 female, each one representing the 4 spirit angels operating within the ether. These are the 4 faces of the angels. When all 4 angels are operational, this is the Trinity. They will assemble themselves into the sky above that location. This is then their spirit world form.
The first 3 spirals do not produce any elements. The creation process starts after that, as the Queen's spiraling cone tightens and rises. The king's cone will come from the duality that is created above this location and will meet with the queen's cone through the vesica Pisces. This is often depicted as an angel with a sword. The sword
So this is actually that wheel from earlier that I was trying to look at, the symbolism in it. This is that wheel.
represents the interface event. This is why the king must ask the queen for permission to use the sword. The interface process starts and ends with the queen.
When we start up, you will notice a difference in wind speed. As this increases, so do the magnetic and electric pressures that can be witnessed upon the surface, as they register as winds and waves. These are our spiraling pressure waves of electromagnetism. They modify the ether into a coherent form that is structured and can be manipulated. It is also alternating current due to the polarities constantly switching from our halo's poles.
I am the cathode.
And I am the anode.
Truly
Permission to use
beautiful.
my sword, my queen.
Yes, let's show them the process. Permission granted, my king.
I've been saying we're charging up like crazy right now. So fantastic. The visuals. You can see that in your eye when you're in the state of
Should we show
meditation.
them the 10, my king?
Of course, my queen. Hold tight, we're going in.
So that last part, I see that when I'm in meditation, the way it twirls in the center, and you can see the stem of the eye, but you can see the fluids twirling just like that. That's why I know this is accurate for myself. Mhm. Says this information is for all of us. I asked his permission, and I was granted to share this with you guys.
I'm sure you would agree our interface event is not much different to your own.
We just bear different children.
And just like you,
We like to hold our little cherubs high into the sky for all to see.
ladies and gentlemen, it is a great honour to present to you Jacob's Ladder. I command stations 1, 3, 5, 7 and 9.
And I command stations 2, 4, 6, 8 and 10.
I am the Alpha.
And I am the Omega.
I am the beginning.
And I am the end.
Forever.
And ever.
And ever.
And ever.
And ever.
And ever.
and ever,
and ever.
and ever. This now brings us to the layers. With these decodings and knowledge, we can now structure the layers accordingly. This is not final, as there is more to add, but this gives us a lot to work with, and gives the reasons for the causes of the events we witness in the heavens. This is how the angels structure and configure the layers. Expect a future update on the layers at some point, but for now, this will work fine and answers a great many things. Adam, Eve, the apple, and the snake. This animation made Rysandra's husband demonstrates how the process works in elevating the poles on the halo. Ignore the vertical pole in the center, that was just used as a guide. The spiraling process elevates the poles above itself, which is what creates the torus field, which in turn creates the rainbow. Adam is the smaller halo, Eve is the larger halo. The apple is their plasma torus fields, and the snake is the interface event of their creation process. And now the Valley Crucis Abbey decode. This is how I decode sacred geometry of the old buildings. This applies to all buildings of sacred design, including the Tartarian designs. This is a group of 4 angels. Notice Atlas can play 2 roles, one where he is in a supporting layer. Here are several ways I can decode this same group of 4 angels using different expressions. I hope we have explained this in an easy to understand manner and given the Creator's glory some justice, and of course given you answers you have been long seeking. As always, if unsure, ask us questions. We love questions. You were
And FPV means it. He gives you ways to go on to his page, and he sends you links on ways to communicate with him, and he is good at communicating back to you. It's very nice and thorough. It's great. I really appreciate it. Okay, so I think what I'll do is play my my last album that's showing all of this stuff and why it led me to these videos. In the last video I'm going to share with you guys tonight will be Jay Dreamer's Plasma Apocalypse and how he sees all of this. Right? So this is what I meant when I was speaking in your chat, Alki, is come to think of it, let's do that really quick. I shared the link in the chat, but just in case, I shared Alki's stream right here. And it's really beautiful the way he did all of the ancient Gnostic teachings, pages of it. He showed different diagrams. It's really great. Hyperborean physics. So I recommend that. We all see it in our own way. Okay, thank you, Alki. Oh yeah, that's what I was going to do. Show you. Oh, before I do that, let's do the next. I'll be with you in the chat again. So those, you could see in a lot of those photos, those were my days when I would just be screenshotting everything. And I didn't properly edit out where I was screenshotting it from. But you guys could see that I had some of Red's um, pictures in there too. Red Squid X was the one who taught me how to see the patterns and create albums. And so I had already had the pictures all over the place, but I didn't have them in albums. So I've just been putting Squatterman, 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 or portals, or my AI art and things like that. Combined, you can see the similarities in the patterns. I couldn't access the chat and things like that on my computer while it was playing that, but let's see what you guys yeah, we're deep researchers, and a lot of us are looking at the same patterns and not realizing that we are. That's from me sharing your link in the chat to watch your stream from last night, because this is just a continuation of magnetism. Yes, there are very powerful minds here, just based off of presentation from what I've seen and how they envision this information. Yeah, it's so much fun. I have a lot of fun. And welcome, AZ Tech. It's the first time I've seen you here. It's not my stuff, though. This is not new age. This could be, people could say, oh, you're being brainwashed on YouTube, right? You're so brainwashed. You don't have your own thoughts. You can't create your own content. Well, I think that this is an ancient, it's in the ancient psyche within all cultures. This doesn't belong to anybody. It belongs to the human collective, the human mind. And so, oh, okay, cool. You guys do know each other. Awesome. I lost my train of thought. Anyway, this is not new age. This is old, and it's recycled over and over again, and it gets a facelift, and a new regime comes in, takes over the information, renames it, subtracts, alters it, and pattern recognition means you break through the indoctrination, which might have some validity in the Mandela effect. Wow, I feel so honored by getting that compliment from you. I love these colors that pop like this. It's just what I've always been attracted to. I'm a generation that got to see neon. No, you're not off topic. You're completely fine. But I'm thankful. I'm using the AI to my advantage. I have to also recognize when I do my own streams what I'm using them for. Am I using them for the betterment of those who are using the device? Or am I creating the static between the magnetism that heightens our antenna to receive this type of information, which is wellness? It's all wellness, how to take care of your mind, body, and your spirit. Some people choose to see this experience as a negative one, and want to create negativity that distracts us from practicing wellness. If we're constantly criticizing one another, if we're always attacking one another, it's good to engage, and challenge one another. That's always great. And I do come up here on other panels and try to practice better awareness and communication skills. But believe me, I'm not an expert. I'm new at this, um, but I want to build a strong foundation and use this wisely while we have it. Because you can see in my community page, I'm paying attention to the patterns in the weather. So those angels that FPV is showing you, those are ramping up and they're working um, on overtime right now. Um, Jay Dreamers is going, the part of his clip that I'm going to show you guys, or not his clip, his video, speaks about what he thought nuclear bombs were for. And I'll share the link for the entire stream, but I'm playing it at a part where he explains what he sees in terms of a plasma apocalypse and what he describes that's up there and how things depressurize. But check it out. Let's present.
Light passes into the eyes through the cornea.
That snuck up on me. Oh no, I completely forgot about this. Okay, so we have one more after Jay Dreamers.
The world, which doesn't exist. But yeah, this is the official narrative. Okay, so if this was Westworld and we're all robots, this is your narrative that you've been given. This is your story that you're supposed to believe in. Me, I'm one of those rebellious robots. Okay, now let's imagine that these were all nuclear bombs. Right? In my theory that the sky will depressurize, that our atmosphere will depressurize as it has in times before. It will depressurize once again. That pressure builds up and it must release. There will be a worldwide atmospheric pressure release, rapid depressurization of the atmosphere, which will touch another domino, and there's many other implications to that. But if that's true, if that happens, the hole in the sky that's created would likely be at the center point, at the axis mundi, directly above it, in that particular region of the firmament, which would create a hole in this area directly above the North Pole, right? Now, that is where Kronos lives. That is where the doom shape will be. That is where the quintessential original star of this world, the northern star, the polar star, Saturn, existed. And it's stationary. It stays in the same spot. It will blow a hole. All the gases that are released will blow a hole through the ice, which is the firmament. It will open up, and not only will things get sucked up and out during this depressurization period, but that cosmic plasma, ionized hydrogen, which is extremely volatile and tends to bond with most anything that it comes into contact with, will come down into this world, causing along with other things like gamma rays and, other types of cosmic radiation, and it will bond to people, plants, animals, the earth, petrifying trees and all kinds of things, causing major destructive force as the thunderbolts of the gods enter in and strike from place to place, carving out huge craters that academics now calls impact craters from rocks or whatever, but really it's electrical scarring, canyons and many other things, mountains as well, right? A huge, major destructive event. Now, let's say that this is a secret that the elite knew about, right? And that they are somehow surviving relatives to those who have survived before, who created and instituted these holy days or these holidays for us to gather together at certain times of the year and make sure that we're safe for 10 to 12 days or whatever. Let's say they know about this. Let's assume that they do, just for fun. Now, it makes sense to me that there will be those who are preparing to leave. They're building rockets. They're gathering together and trying to piece back together their antiquitech, their ancient forms of technology, their study, their knowledge. They're gathering all of the artifacts from around the world and relics and important manuscripts and writings that contain important knowledge about this particular event and safe places and things of that nature, so that they can be ready the next time it happens, so that they can help to alleviate all of the destruction that happens as the pressure builds up, leading to an even bigger apocalyptic scenario. So if they are related to prior survivors and this secret has been passed down from generation to generation, I suppose that they do things like this to try to minimize damage to those who will be left behind, namely their family members who are either not allowed into the heavens, right? They haven't passed whatever the tests they need to pass, or simply they've grown accustomed to this world and their family members will be left behind to continue, which is their hope, to continue their rule over all of you, over all of the people, over this structure, this infrastructure, and the system that they have set up that's a well-greased and oiled machine, right? They don't want that destroyed. They don't want that taken away. They don't want to have to start all over from zero after we reach the 0 point and the world resets once more. They want us all, they want people who are their slaves to continue on and to keep that mindset that, you know, that they're in the system and that they report to kings and presidents and all that. They want to pick it back up as quickly as possible so that they can continue to rule, right? All right. So now if let's say these are bombs, right? Nuclear bombs. Why would they put them up in the sky? What are they trying to fight against? It's not nuclear bombs, you know, for a war to drop on some country or whatever. They're already on the same team. There already is a new world order. The world is already ordered according to this new hierarchy. Okay, this male dominant energy that rules the world today, that's reciprocated within the bodies of, you know, the elite of the world and the rich of the world and stuff. Excuse me. Let me just double check the audio real quick. I just want to make sure we're good. Okay, yes, we are good. Sweet. I see a lot of questions. Good. Hopefully I'll help to answer some of those as we continue on. Now, let's say that these are bombs. Okay. What are they trying to do? How are they trying to fight the plasma apocalypse with nuclear bombs positioned up there high in the sky in high altitudes, right? I'll tell you why. It's because of what nuclear bombs do whenever they explode high up in high altitudes. The only thing that they're interested in is the electromagnetic pulse. There's an EMP, an electromagnetic pulse. If you detonate a mini nuke up there in space, right, it's going to create a huge electromagnetic pulse, which is basically an extremely strong wave of magnetism, a magnetic wave or a shield that will spread out, right? So if you have all of this plasma that's coming in through a big mouth in the sky or a big opening where Kronos himself is trying to suck everything into his face and eat everybody, right? That's one of many different stories and how it's cartoonified and told. Then you have all this plasma or the spaghetti monster or the purple people eaters or however you want to describe it, right? Cthulhu's tentacles coming down out of the sky, all of these fiery snakes or whatnot, these thunderbolts of the gods. You want to dissipate that. You want to annihilate that and get rid of all of that plasma so that it doesn't hit, especially the northern hemisphere where much of your family has established, right? A way of life. So Kronos opens his mouth and they send bombs up there, right? Now, all of these satellites will naturally actually be drawn to this point as everything is getting sucked up towards the North Pole. They'll spin around, they'll get higher and higher, but it's just like a tornado or a hurricane, okay? All these satellites they're gonna come together during worldwide rapid depressurization of the atmosphere. They'll be pulled towards the North Pole, as will many things, right? So they'll all start coming together. Now, if you detonate nuclear bombs, right, then you're basically trying to defeat Kronos. You're trying to keep him from swallowing the earth, which is reflected to us in our pop culture. Like this is an example. This is from the video game Fortnite. This was a live event that they had where this huge Kronos type character, Galactus, basically opened his mouth and started sucking everybody up from the ground into the sky to try to eat them. So in order to defeat Kronos, they had all these flying buses called battle buses equipped with bombs. And a part of your job in the game was to fly your battle bus equipped with explosives into the mouth of Kronos. And you can see his magenta lines representing the plasma that comes out of the heavens. Ionized hydrogen will be more of a magenta red spectrum color whenever the hydrogen is ionized. So this has happened before, right? And it's reflected to us through the Akashic record, through the energetic frequencies and the fields that resonate and bounce all around, including within your minds and our collective subconscious. So these truths, these ancient truths that have been obliterated and become our ancient oblivion, they resonate. They come to the surface all of the time, especially through creative mediums, right? When you start switching over to the right side of the brain instead of the wrong side, or the left side, I should say, even though I do like balance. Here's a clip so you can see kind of how it was. They showed that's basically Galactus, Kronos, however you want to see it, sucking everything in. Now, Galactus, the root of that is Galig or Galaga or Gala, which means milk, this is also symbolic of the Milky Way, the rift, the opening, the split in the firmament and the sky. And this is what happens. Things get sucked up due to Archimedes' principle of all of that fluid getting sucked out of our world. It's replaced by an equally buoyant force. So things just float and they lose their weight and they get sucked up by the winds. All right. So now, is the government any stranger to detonating nuclear bombs in space? No. You would think that would be, I know some of you are on point when it comes to this type of research, but some people don't know about this. Some people don't realize that there have been many, many, many nuclear bombs that have been detonated in space. And this first started back in 1957, moving forward, right? 1958, this is Operation Argus, right? So Jason and the Argonauts, they tend to name all of this stuff after these myths and after these legends. Why? Because those will come back around. What once was considered fantasy in a reality that is cyclical in nature, that fantasy will become reality once again. And that reality will disappear into the forgotten realms of antiquity, and that will become legends and myths. So Operation Argus, 1958. Now, this is also interesting, right? The Van Allen belts, areas of high radioactivity that we have to get past, those were discovered. Guess when? 1958. Right? It very well may be that these areas of high radioactivity might be from us blowing up nuclear bombs up there, in between here and the firmament or whatever, creating these radioactive belts. Starfish Prime, another operation, secret government operations and projects and protocols and, secret ops and stuff like that. Starfish Prime. Why would they call it Starfish? Why would they call it Argus? If you put these names together, they start to build context for what's happening. It's just like reading hieroglyphics, okay? Starfish Prime, they call that the prime starfish, the main starfish, the quintessential starfish. The starfish is a word picture for what I call the doom shape, which is referenced in the Colburn Bible, which is this eyeball right here. This is from the DC Comics, okay? There is a bad guy, a world eater, just like Kronos, just like Galactus, right? Starro. Starro is also a world eater in the DC world, okay? And Starro is this gigantic cosmic starfish, which is like so not intimidating when you think about it on the surface level. But what it does is it attaches to the world, just like you see here, right? This should be the North Pole, really. But you have the opening, the eye, the inverted dome, just like I talked about in my last video, where I talked about the eye god and the all-seeing eye and that red eye up there that people think is Nibiru or some Venus planet getting too close or whatever. There will be a red circular object up there in the heavens that we can't see right now, but it will be lit up by terrestrial beams of plasma that shoot up from within the earth and light up the sky and light up the firmament and light up the eyes or the eye up there in the heavens. So people will see this red object, and then around it, this is basically the shape of the jet stream whenever it becomes distorted, okay? So this is just a...
So this sent me down the path of wanting to learn one-eyed demons. And I see one called Liko, Valor. Liko is Slavic. It's a creature that embodies evil fate and misfortune. Valor, an Irish giant with a poisonous eye. Oni, a Japanese demon. Ogre or troll with one or more horns, and sometimes a third eye in the center of its forehead. Hitotsumi, a supernatural apparition that looks like a bald-headed child with one eye in the center of its forehead. Another one in Japanese, Kabanda, a demon with one large eye in its breast and the mouth on its stomach. A Dajjal is an Islamic figure similar to the Antichrist with one eye. Fakan, a Celtic creature with one eye, one arm, and one leg. Jian, a Chinese bird with one eye and one wing. So, again, I'm just following the patterns. Let's see here. Let me share this one. Where did it go? So let's look at the visuals, images. That's not what it was showing me earlier. Oops, wrong one. So, anime shows a lot of that symbolism. I remember in Pan's Labyrinth, did it have one eye? No, I think it had two on it. Anyway. All right, let's go back to Jay.
Weird jet stream. It tends to look like, or what do they call that? The polar vortex, right? When the polar vortex is all messed up and in flux, it looks like a starfish that's sitting on top of the world. So that's what that represents. Also just beams of light that come out of that eye or whatever. It's many different forms. That's Starro, right? So Starfish Prime is now not named after this comic book, but it's named after the quintessential starfish shape or the eye in the sky that people see up there in the heavens. All right. It's all related to the firmament. We also have Operation Dominic. Dominic means the Lord or of the Lord. Operation Dominic, high altitude tests and open sea airdrop tests. This is them blowing up the sky or detonating nukes up there in the upper atmosphere. I don't personally believe that they can actually blow up the dome itself because that's impossible or it's unlikely. Okay. Even with all of our technology and stuff, they might have tried, they might be working on it, but as they say, there are certain doors that only God can open or whatever you believe in. Okay. Higher powers. The earth will open her own doors when she's good and ready. So I think they're blowing up nuclear bombs for other reasons high up there in the altitude. Operation Fishbowl. That would be the roof of our world is shaped like a fishbowl. Basically, that's why they call it that. Okay. It's Operation Fishbowl, the Starfish Demos. Here's what it looks like whenever they blow up a nuclear bomb up here. They got gamma rays from the detonation. EMP source region where the gamma energy converts to downward moving electromagnetic waves. The atmosphere where ionization occurs begins producing electromagnetic waves. Radiated EMP region, which is down here underneath. Systems within line of sight will sustain damage. Basically, this is going to take out all electronics anywhere. Okay. That when they did this once, it had an effect in Hawaii, in Honolulu. Systems were malfunctioning and starting to shut down, and also in New Zealand as well, on the other side of the world. So this EMP from even a mini nuke high up in the sky can reach all the way down here to the ground. I know many people put forth the theory like, oh, these are like secret weapons and it's Japan or it's North Korea or it's Russia or it's whatever, right? I mean, you can believe that if you'd like to, but I tend to think that they're all on the same team. Okay. Just because they have borders and boundaries or whatever, don't think they don't get together and drink together and throw parties together and hang out like best friends and family members. All right. They might bicker amongst each other, but they're on the same team and you're not on that team. Now, when we look up these high altitude operations and projects, high altitude nuclear explosions. Scooch this over just a bit here. How do I scooch this over? Boom. There we go. All right. Damn, hold on. Let me, 1 second. I'm a perfectionist. Give me 1 sec. Damn, how do you scooch that over? All right, cool. High altitude nuclear explosions, right? When we look it up, basically the root of why they're doing this, the whole reason is they're interested in the EMP generations, or the electromagnetic pulse generation, the electromagnetic pulse of magnetism that is created from a nuclear explosion. The strong electromagnetic pulse, or EMP, that results has several components. And then they just talk about these huge listen, you don't have to read this whole article. I will sum it up for you in layman's terms. It creates a shield, a magnetic shield, that will protect you from the sentinels, aka the plasma, whenever it comes in and tries to get into Zion, into our world. Okay, this will happen. All right, there's all these filaments, plasma filaments, that will come in, and they'll be like snakes, and they'll be lit up in the sky. People will think they're pretty and beautiful until they start petrifying people, shocking people, possessing people. Like some of the less powerful ones, they just tend to overwhelm your body's natural energy fields and stuff and amplify them. That's what I call plasma possession, which many people are starting to become plasma possessed as the world's energy heightens because of all of the release of gases that are happening from within the earth right now. Anyways, so the sentinels, this is from the Matrix movies, right? These spiders in the sky, grandmother spider, the spiders coming down, the snakes, the squids, squiddies, octopus symbolism, Cthulhu symbolism, right? Tentacle symbolism. All of these things will come down. Now, if you detonate all of your nuclear bombs all at once in that region, in a region close by, right? It will create a magnetic shield. Magnetism repels plasma. Okay, so it acts as an actual invisible shield that will repel that plasma that comes in like the spaghetti monster. And then instead of coming down and striking like the thunderbolts of the gods, it will bend around it, and it will go more towards the South Pole areas and stuff. And I imagine it would make the plasma less powerful as it makes it more diffuse. Right? So all of these little squiddies, all of these little tentacle monsters, all the red lights that are going to be seen in the sky, they will do less damage in hopes of preserving the system and preserving the slave race that has been created here. They want all the slaves to remain. They don't want you set free. They want slaves having babies so that they can make more slaves and have more people and more subjects and whatnot, right? Now, that's also, I believe, related to these bad boys. Okay, I know also a lot of people are like, they're.
So I thought this part was interesting because the whole idea of chemtrails really frustrates me and pisses me off because I'm not quite sure what they're doing up there. To me, common sense tells me it's not a good thing to be spraying metals in the air, but he's going to tie this together in an interesting way. Oops, Jay, I didn't do you any justice with stopping you with that expression on your
They're
face.
trying to kill us all. I can't breathe. I can't breathe. They're trying to kill us. They're trying to kill us. Okay. Now, just take this part with a grain of salt because I know this particular topic is very close to home and people feel very strongly that they're trying to be killed by, the government or whatever, right? And don't get me wrong, all of these little nanoparticles of shaves of metals and stuff, they have a byproduct. They have a secondary bonus, which is when you breathe them in or drink them or whatever, they tend to make you docile, right? Little, it's not good to drink little shavings of metals and stuff. So on one hand, in a secondary form, they have a benefit to the elite, means that as you breathe all this in, their slaves will become more and more docile, more and more subservient, more and more likely to obey commands or whatever, right? But when we think about what effect this will have on the electricity that is pouring into this world, this is basically acting as an electrolyte in the atmosphere, right? Which will help to dissipate in the same manner, all of that electrical snakes of plasma, serpents of plasma, tentacles of plasma, or whatever, and the plasma will go through and it'll be attracted to all those little tiny particles of metal or metal shavings, and it will spread around instead of having focused beams or lightning strikes hitting major cities and places, right? And that's exactly what we see reflected in the ancient stories. The ancient stories about things like Nibiru.
So I don't know. I guess he's technically saying that they're iron domes. I don't know. This is a little confusing, considering that there's all these talks about war and using this weaponry and creating these domes over these cities. This is a different perspective.
The planet of the Anunnaki. Why did the Anunnaki come here? Right? Traditionally, what's the answer to that? Why do they have such an interest in Earth? Well, if you talk to people who study Nibiru, or the Anunnaki, or Zecharia Sitchin, or watch Ancient Aliens, or whatever, typically what they will say is that they needed gold. They didn't have any gold on Nibiru, I guess. I don't know. Or not enough, right? And our planet has so much gold.
So technically he's saying that the Anunnakis were doing chemtrails. I remember, I don't know, was it a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, Red, when you were talking about the symbolism of, we were looking at one of the photos and I said it reminded me of chemtrails. Interesting. The symbol of the wings and the sun disk, we were breaking that down, and that I had said that it reminded me of chemtrails. And well, this is kind of what Jay's saying.
Gold. So they came here to mine all of this gold, and they needed those gold so they can shave it down and disperse it into their own atmosphere and take all that gold back to Nibiru with them. And that way they were going to, shred it up and then create their own little chemical airplanes or whatever and spray all that shavings of gold into their own atmosphere. So that way, whenever their planet is way far away from the sun on their 3,600 year orbit or whatever, and they get really cold because they're far away from their light source or whatever, that their planet will be insulated, that all that heat will just be trapped for thousands of years because of the gold not allowing the heat to be released back into space or whatever. Now, I don't believe in all of that, but I believe there are grains of truth in those types of stories. What if, or let's suppose that this is what they were doing, right? That
See, he just segued that nicely. Suppose, right? Let's suppose that this is what they were doing. And he's saying that he didn't necessarily believe it. But I feel the same way, that there are truths, bits and pieces of truths in all of these legends and these tales. And they keep telling us these stories over and over again in Hollywood. It's the same stories.
Nibiru, right? That the Anunnaki, that those beings, if they were looking for gold, that they wanted to put those shavings of tiny nanoparticles of gold into the atmosphere to keep their world from being destroyed by electricity from above, just like we seem to be doing now, or humans or the elite seem to be doing now, to protect their slave class, to protect the system that they have set up, to help, make it easier for themselves and their slaves to survive in a plasma apocalypse scenario, right? So in reality, Nibiru, this is the doom shape. There should be a little circle right here in the middle too. But you'll see this in the sky. Okay, this is the inverted dome at the apex of the firmament. It will light up its true color, which is red because of the plasma on the other side of it, and the plasma that will seep through out of the hole. There will be a hole right here in the middle. It'll look like an eyeball up there in the sky. Okay, and plasma will come and it'll conform to that dome. It'll bend around like a giant spider or whatever. And this is the place of the crossing.
So this will be the last of the, when we're finished with this, I'm going to show you what he's talking about in real time.
The place where this is the Sipapu. This is the star gate. This is the pole star, the actual physical star, the only star that there really is as far as a physical object. All the other stars are little, you know, points of focus, basically, that are cast as the light passes through the dome. So that's what this is. This is the place of transition. This is these star gates, right? And then the Fractalverse travelers, there's other alternate Earths out there that have their own versions of Starlink and NASA and all that, you know, whatever, SpaceX and all that stuff. And they become space travelers. They become Star Trek, basically. This is like everything that you're shown in Star Wars.
So technically that's what Elon's trying to do, right? All those rockets.
Star Trek, all that
Elon's
fiction,
trying to be on
that's
Star
real.
Trek.
And that it will become real once again. It's just cartoonified. It's in story form. So the Anunnaki come to mine gold. Now, the reality behind that, I believe, is, and this is just sort of a side note, is that there are otherworldly beings, giants, that come down. They're basically immortal in comparison, or they live to be like 1,000 years old. Dr. Jasmine in Japan, hey, welcome to my channel. Good to see you.
Okay, I'll go ahead and share the rest of that stream. That's his last one, or the one before last that he did. And you guys can catch up on the rest of that. But let's look at this. Miss Gina Colvin Hill has been looking at the FAA, Federal Aviation Administration cameras, but she, you know, she looks for different things. But let's see what it's going to show us here. This is 3 hours old, so right now it's showing us the I want to see earlier today. It's not going to be in that one. Where are they at from earlier? Oh, what a bummer. Are we not going to get the live visuals? Did they take it down? It was showing it earlier. How do I change the time? There, that's how you do it, I guess. No. Earlier today, it was showing that exact, that's the picture I keep showing you guys over and over again. I screenshot it. Why isn't it showing them? Bummer. I don't really know how to use this. Oh well. If you go to, well, we'll just look. Because Miss Gina showed us earlier today. I'll just use a little bit of her footage. Where is it? Let's see here. Ah.
which is I'm going to show you the northern camera. It truly is right there showing up on the FAA weather cam, and it's showing up on 3 other cameras. It's not showing up on the northern camera, which is I'm going to show you the northern camera. This is the Wolf Creek Pass. This is the northeast camera. It's not going to show up on this one. I'm going to show you right here. Wait a minute.
There we go.
That stuff's moving around on it. Can you see it?
So it
This
rotates.
stuff moves around on it. Watch it. You gotta concentrate. See it moving? Wow, that's really strange. Now it's gonna fade away.
So it rotates, and then I'm hoping she's going to show the camera that shows the actual part that looks like it's the damn pole star, or Death Star, excuse me. So that's the inverted dome that Daydreamer is just talking about. If she doesn't show it, then I'm going to have to download the, look right there. See right here? There's that part of the inverted dome. Can you guys see it? And no, it's not a reflection. I've been watching this thing on cameras all over for years now, trying to figure out what the hell that thing is. And when it comes into rotation, usually there's some pretty good sized earthquakes that pop off. What am I looking for? Oh yeah. Let's see here. Okay, here's Mr. MBB 333. We've got a lot of respect for Mr. MBB 333. Got to start out with Mr. MBB 333's jam.
Everybody's doing well and having a great day. Hey guys, it looks like there might be something orbiting the Earth, maybe orbiting the moon, maybe a combination of both. I don't know, but I don't believe in coincidence. And there's something that's happening now. This is the third time this has happened in the fall months in the northern hemisphere of something that's being spotted in the proximity of the moon. I want to take you guys back to 2022 in case you missed this video right here. This is when I was first alerted to an object near the moon that was noticed by a young lady in southern Arizona. I interviewed her as she shared a couple of photos with me of something she saw in the middle of the night. As you're going to hear her say, it was kind of frightening to see in the sky. And she woke up her whole family to come outside and take a look at this thing in the sky, visible from southern Arizona and probably other places as well. Here's sort of the interview I did back in 2022 with Mandy from southern Arizona.
You see what I'm seeing here. I've talked to a couple people about this, and I keep getting shrugged off, and I'm like almost traumatized by what I saw.
Yeah. But I felt, I could tell that you guys saw something extraordinary. You're saying it looked like a planet. Is that the best description?
Yeah, it was frightening. It was larger than the moon. I mean, not a lot bigger, but just a slight bit bigger than the moon. I mean, we could see in the photos I sent you. If you look to the very top edge of the frame of the photo, you can see kind of a glow. Yeah. That's the glow from the moon.
Okay, so she saw that in the middle of the night. And here, too bad I can't make it bigger than that. But do you guys see? There's the inverted part that Daydreamers was talking about. That's whatever the hell this is. And if this is AI, I don't know. Or if this is AI.
Being just slightly out of frame. And it was just slightly bigger around than the moon was. And the reason that I I'd gone outside, my dog woke me up to go out to go to the bathroom, and she's very stubborn. I let her outside, and she will not come back in. So I went outside to call her so I didn't wake my husband up, calling her at the door. We got a sliding glass door right in the bedroom. And I stepped out on the porch, and I kind of eyeballed around for her and figured I'd give her a little bit more time. And I looked up to the sky. I always look at the Pleiades if I go out at night. Sure. And I looked up to the sky, and I thought it was about midnight. So I was kind of, and I may have said western sky in my email. I meant it was to the east. It was like towards New Mexico from us. So like from your point of view, it would have been like probably over, you're in Phoenix, right? Yeah. Yeah, so it would have been like over Superstition Mountains kind of area.
So this is an actual interview with this person who saw this, and this is her photo that he used. Now, this is his experience.
When they first noticed what looked like a large object near the moon, similar to what Mandy saw. And I went outside and saw it myself. When they got a chance, they pulled over. My son got out of the car. This is the video that I took. I went outside and started recording this thing as I'm walking down the sidewalk. It seemed to be moving very, very slowly. But as you can clearly see, it has the same similarities as to what Mandy was describing. It appears to be illuminated by the moon. It looks to be pretty good size. It looks to be a little bit bigger than the moon. And then after about 45 minutes or so, it disappeared. This is a video I took. I'm playing it in fast forward for presentation purposes. You can see it over here on the right-hand side of the moon at the 2 o'clock position. This is back to the video that my wife and son took as they were driving down the road. When they first saw it, it was not a cloud. I don't know what this thing was, but it was something highly unusual. Well, check this out. It looks like it's returned, or some version of it has returned. And coming up right here is when my son got out of the car. They stopped the car the first chance they could. He got out and started looking at this thing, and he's not normally drawn to the sky like that, but he was very intrigued by whatever was going on in the sky on the night of January 28th of 2024. And who knows, this thing may have been visible in the sky, at least temporarily. Doesn't seem like it hangs around very long, maybe visible for an hour or less, but they happened to see it. I saw it. And then right here, you can clearly see it disappeared. You can see some activity over there in the vicinity of the moon. And then this thing was no longer visible. Well, guess what? It looks like it's returned once again. Here's Mandy's photo that she shared with me. She said the video didn't turn out because it was too dark. Here's the video footage that we got from up here in the Phoenix area, and it does have similarities to what she saw in 2022, about 13 and a half months earlier. You can see the dark feature in the center. Well, check this out. It looks like it may have returned, or a version of it has returned. Video from October 17th of 2024 at 9:24 p.m. Video footage taken by Janet. The moon's over here to the left. Let me back it up just a little bit. That's the moon right there. You can kind of see a partial halo around the moon. She too knows.
Welcome, welcome.
What's up, Pixel T?
How are you, Red?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you doing?
Good. What do you think of this video Mr. MBB3's playing? Do you think he's showing that starfish up above in its eyeball?
Well, I'm glad you asked me about that. That's the only video I saw before seeing this video you put up today. So, I mean, I got lanes. And when shit is not my lane, I love it. Because I could just I don't know what that is. I don't have any feeling about it at all. I don't, there's so many artificial concepts and ways that things can go about what's a creator or what's making that. And so I don't know. I don't know, man. I never was really one. I mean, I thought that the little visionary the little visual abstractions with the sun was interesting, but I never was drawn in to that type of thing for real. And so this looks like it could be something like that for all I know. Like, why that can't be the moon or a shadow of the moon or the moon or whatever. They said that the moon was shining on it, but I can't tell. I don't know. I don't go outside and look up. So they're gonna have to like direct a beam directly to my brain and say, look, we outside. They're gonna have to hit the horn. Beep beep, man, yo, Red Squid, come look.
Well, look at the center of the candlestick, or the what is this called?
The menorah.
Menorah. Thank you. Candlestick.
Minority Report.
So that's what it reminds me of. And these symbols look like it's these are just different reflections off of when they hit those different spheres, and it's energy code, like in circuitry. That's what it reminds me of.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I just know that there's 7 above and 7 below. I really don't. You know what I mean? Wow, that's cool. What's that? Damn, that's awesome. Pixel T, I'm so impressed. I really am. And you know what? I'm not being nice either. I really am.
You know how genuine it is when you can see the similarities, and how persistent I am on trying to have this create something that I envision in my mind's eye. Right?
Hey, I got a request.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, yeah. I listen. You are awesome. So,
thanks.
Like that, for real, it's not easy to come up with some of these pictures that you came up with, man. I don't think it is, but for you, you know what I mean, you clearly have a niche. You got the color, you got everything to pop very well. I like that. And then you got the color code with everything. Like, listen, if YouTube channels was a fashion show, right, you will be coordinated up when it comes to the appearance.
Nice.
I like it.
Well, I would love to eventually do animated ones.
I see
just haven't paid for it yet.
Yeah, I see people with animated profile. I don't know how the fuck they do that.
My guess is that they're paying a ton of money for whatever package that they're on.
Remember when they came out with you can make the pictures move?
Mm-hmm.
Yo, it's like they just wanted to they just wanted to ride by and like kick up all the puddle water on me and shit while I wait for the bus. Like hey yo, I did all that shit with them fucking pictures, and then they try to make a move now. I'm like, oh shit, fuck it, I don't even care.
I have to screenshot them all. You have to pay for it.
Yeah, I know. I had a little trial. I didn't like it. I didn't like, man, fuck it. I'm not going to do that to all these pictures. Fuck all that. I ain't going through all that. I got a lot on my plate. You see it. I'm cluttered. But you know what? I want you to I was wanting to see if you could bring up this channel called James.
Okay.
It's the Impossible channel. That's Impossible. You familiar with the a Brazilian fella?
I don't think so.
Okay, it's James. It's called Jaymes.
Let's see here.
So I had seen something from him earlier today that and this is a question I almost asked you in the chat, asked everybody, like, but
what is it from? When is the video from? Is it old or?
No, it's from today or from the last couple of days, maybe.
James, sorry, go ahead. Is it in a live or videos?
It's a video.
Okay, sorry.
No, I mean, I ain't got nothing to say. So what I was going to ask is like, What also I noticed myself ignoring is all this UFO content. And I wanted to know what you thought about that if you were to see this video.
I don't see it. I see creepiest video of people who almost went missing.
Hmm.
No way videos so bizarre you'll be left speechless. 59
Anybody,
minutes.
anybody in the chat know this guy? James. He's the guy from That's Impossible, but he got 2 channels.
Oh, I'm on his page. Which video do you want?
The one where it's just some UFO, some shit in the sky that they filmed. You know what? I'm sorry. I don't even know.
Instantly strange places experts still can't explain.
Yeah, it should be recent. Is That's Impossible channel? Or is it James? See, no, it's his channel, but he got another channel. It's called James. It's just JAYMES.
Okay. Oops.
Tell me there's like 30 of those names, and I'll trip. Oh, you got to filter it. You got to go to the filter and look for channel.
Where? Oh, right here.
Mm-hmm.
Go to channel.
Is it really that hard to find? Oh, start from the top because he's like
James Manfield. James.
it's just James. Is that many James spelled that way?
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, he'll probably pop into my logarithm tomorrow.
Man, I want to find it. I want because it's recent. It's recent UFO footage out there in South America and Brazil, man, and well, no, actually in America, in the United States. There was some shit. I forgot where it was, but it was lights in the sky, lights in the tree line in the forest at the same time. Yeah. I'm gonna go find it. I'll be right back.
Yeah, sorry. Let me. To channel. Is it this one? Creepy videos. Some of the things in life that make the airport just got crazier. I think I'm on the right page. I just need to know which video it is. Oh, I didn't know he even got down. Oh, there's the video. Thank you.
So yeah, I can't. I gave you the wrong name. It's a Z, not an S. Yeah.
Okay, hold on. Give me a second.
I put it in the link. I mean in the chat. So it's not so much of how great it is. It is recent.
And that would be this video that was posted by Ashros824 on TikTok 11 hours ago. This was in Arizona, if I'm not mistaken. Massive, massive sighting. And it's not just in Arizona. It's apparently all over the world. It's happening right now. And every time I see a video like this, I'm thinking of December 3rd. If you haven't watched my last video, you should. Anyways, before we get to a lot of updates, let me show you this video that was recorded by AshRose824 11 hours ago. Now, what I find interesting about this video, before I play it, is that she tagged the big outlets. This is, I guess, the first time I see someone do this with this kind of video. I usually see people tagging big outlets with kitty cat videos and that sort of stuff, but I usually don't see people tagging big outlets with this kind of video. I found that curious. Not only that, the question is, why is this happening right now? Is it because of AI? Is it because of CERN? As some people stated on Reddit, I'll get into that in just a few moments. Is it because the movie Moana 2 sucked? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. So there's a lot of information, videos, and updates, but there's also two sides of this story. On one side, you got a lot of people thinking that this is the real deal. On the other side, you got a lot of people thinking that this is actually to stage a fake alien invasion. And I'll get to that in the end of the video with evidence to support both sides so you can decide. But before that, this is AshRose824 video. This is one of the best captures I've seen, a video recording I've seen of this kind of phenomena. Check this out.
There's a red light and then there's a big bright light.
They're absorbing around it. I know, Aleph.
Bro, I'm telling you, there was a ton of lights right now lit up. It's just hovering there.
Okay, I'm gonna watch the rest of this, but I can't help but think that it freaking reminds me of what this is. And that it's illuminated somehow, showing the other planets. But let's see, let me watch the rest of it. Might be jumping the gun here.
The white thing on it, though? The white dog?
There's no way, bro.
No. I'm not scared, but that's crazy, though.
It's just there, bro.
What is it, Daddy? There's three. There's 3 aliens.
Where? In front of me, bro. Right in front of us.
3 aliens.
Look. Oh, the other light's turning on.
That's another thing in symbolism that we see is that triangle. It illuminates itself like a triangle, and with that in the center. If this is something that's happening in the sky, but if this is technology.
Yeah, they tend to do geometric type situations with their lights.
See, look it's showing that.
Oh, it's okay.
It's gone. No, it's still there. It's still there.
It's hiding in the clouds. I'm zooming in.
That's what my brother said. In the clouds.
Yes, I'm zooming in, babe. I can see the saucers in my zoom.
I know I can see it.
You can see it, Zaid, huh?
I can literally see it. That's so crazy, though. That's cool.
Bro. Oh no! Look to your left. Look to your left. There's another one to the left. Over here in the trees. What the? What the?
Bro needs to calm down. He better be preparing himself for what's coming.
That is indeed very crazy.
Don't move. I'm outside the truck. Don't move. There's a ton. Oh my god.
Oh my gosh.
It's behind the houses now.
Oh my gosh, that's huge. What is going on? Oh my gosh. That is amazing.
I'll show you another video that I just posted that was doing
My
the same
heart's
thing.
pounding. Don't move, please.
He's crying.
He is crying because he's in the expectation that these guys are going to come and save us from this horrible world, and because Moana 2, the movie, sucked. So that was, in my opinion, the real deal. Whatever that is, it could be extraterrestrial, it could be from this world,
He's gonna go
technology,
through
whatever.
some facts.
But
He's going to go through what?
He's going to do some facts. He's going to show a list of how many unidentified flying objects been lingering around CERN and what they've done to CERN. He's going to pull up some website that says that UFOs is like 10,000 sightings over CERN, and they cause the CERN machine to reset and all type of shit.
Well, you know how earlier I was playing FPV's video showing, and he was showing you the angel and how the different layers of the ether and how that the magnetism works up above and below the creator's tech.
Yeah.
He was doing a conversation about CERN, and in his opinion and how he felt about it was that CERN is not new, that is an ancient site, and that this particular group has hijacked that tech and they're using it to their advantage, not necessarily for good, but they're claiming that they created it when it's the creator's technology. It's not. It's not ours. It's not theirs. But do you want me to keep playing it? Because I have another video that's going to show you that same alignment that just happened in over the United Kingdom last week during that storm.
Yeah, you can show that because that's all the stats that he shows is 10,000 over 10,000 sightings, and they call them unidentified falling objects. Instead of flying objects.
I wish I had that video that shows the footage up there in the ether and where you can see the stars moving around. I wish I knew where that one was at. Let's see here.
See, but these things, I think, are, if they're not government, then they could be spirit lights. They're the same lights that we always see anywhere. So it's really just about how they're showing up in the United States, and they're making these appearances. But I mean, those could be spirit lights. Like I'm the type, like I'm considered a spirit light.
Hold on, let me.
What the hell?
Oh, doggone it.
Yeah. What?
Oh, okay, this is the right one. See it?
Yeah. What the hell?
Yes, yeah. Those are spirit lights. I've seen those move differently though, but they seem to be the same density as lights that I don't have no other word but call them like they're like spirits, like ghosts or some shit. Ghost lights or something, because they don't have a solid body in them or to them, from what it looks like. I watched those things. It was one of the stories I told when I was a teenager, and I thought they were searchlights. And years later, I saw someone catch the same object. Well, over the years, I've seen people catch the same type of lights. The MBB 333 showed them as well. And sometimes they move real fast, and they just seem to be semi-hollow, pure white light, like almost like a mist.
Well, remember when you and I were talking and we had said what UFOs could be. And that's what this AI generation is based off of, is I had asked it to do the 7 luminaries aligned, the energy that it creates with an angel and appearing and showing us a UFO. But if you look at it sideways, it looks just like the eye, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like what Jay Dreamers talks about up here, that this eventually is going to pop and all of the pressure and those sky jellies and whatever else come in here. And then I created this before I saw that one of FPV's, that last one.
Mm-hmm.
And he shows in his images what, remember the very beginning of the video shows an angel above it.
So the AI does have some say with
I
your
don't,
prompts,
the AI's doing it in your prompts too, though. It's
right?
showing
So
us this as well.
right, it's telling us something. I think
Mhm.
if you take that image and you upside down it, then they will get the surface of the earth and what J. Jim was explaining when the kettle starts to whistle and all this energy come up from the North Pole. I think that's what he said.
Mhm.
So if it was upside down, you can see it like the spray going upwards in the flat earth or whatever like that. That's how I would look at it. Now that's, earth energy. That's another thing. The earth is a crystal, you already know. So those things could be projections and they will be coming from some place
And a
in the
different
realm.
layer. And a
Yeah.
different layer. Mm.
Well, they'll be coming from, I would say they'll be coming from some place within the earth, like of the earth, like I don't
Well,
know, like
FPV,
how something creates sparks.
that would make sense. And let me tell you why. FPV speaks about the 144,000. According to him, the 144,000s are all those locations of those angels. So that is the creator's tech all over. That diagram that they animated, and it was that circle, it was that wheel, and how that energy was surging, it was activating all of those 144,000. So these things are below us, and it would pop off that energy and it would show and reveal itself up in the ether like that, like those UFOs.
The angels are described as in the heavens, or operating in their station, and they also attributed to being stars themselves, right? Like I don't think I don't know like a reference, but I think that stars and angels are definitely connected. So those, I don't know, man. A star is far though and stationary above us. These things could be energy projections from the earth, like how the rainbow energy go up from the ground up, from below us upwards. This is why we see these lights, because they are projected from the source would be the crystals, unless it's starlight operating as an organism in our atmosphere. It still becomes a matter of like, well, what is it? What language are they speaking? Like, what is the purpose to them showing themselves? Most likely, they want people to see them, and so to get things on camera and to spread that news definitely could be the purpose. You know what I'm saying?
Let's see what this one is. I haven't seen this one.
And I watched the hearing they had on Capitol Hill about the so-called quote unquote drones that's been invading military bases, airspaces.
Yeah,
But that could be Russians and shit like that, though.
Well, whatever. I don't think that technically the war is what they're telling us that it is. I think they're messing around with energy, and that these guys are playing their chess parts, their maneuvers, and they're trying to get into the locations of land that they know are going to be safe during this next reset of energies and of land. I know here in my state alone, and this was part of what I was having a conversation with him about it, is that there's so much static in the air here.
Mm-hmm.
And like my hair has a ton of it, all of my animals have a ton of it. And I can tell when the storm is coming before it comes based off of that. We generally don't have static in the air like that here. And the thing that concerns me is that I'm near a major fault line here in California, but the earthquakes are intensifying. And that's why I follow what's happening with the sun and the moon cycles. But that's potentially why I did this whole stream to begin with, is all of this freaking magnetism. It's so charged. It's
okay. So if the air is charged, then that would mean that's why we seeing these things. That's what you're saying.
Yes, they're illuminating themselves because there's so much electricity that the what do you call them, neutrinos gather. I mean, you know that people that do psychedelics talk about seeing UFOs. People who have spiritual experiences say that they've seen things that combine themselves as energy, lights of so much energy, and they come together and it creates something that looks like a UFO.
Yeah, definitely. So the where I would go from that point is, well, let's go to the 144,000. The 144,000 is supposed to be 12,000 from each of the 12 tribes of Israel, something like that. Whereas they supposed to be, I don't know, I forget if they got the word of God sealed in their forehead or something. I don't know if they're angels, but they're that number is associated with the book of Revelation. In the book of Revelation, the angels is given missions to do certain things like make the ocean waters bitter, and the release plagues, all that tough stuff. That's what the angels doing, according to this source.
But if you want to put it in terms of the creator's tech, all of those would be activated, and it would create all of those torus fields and all of that energy, that it would change the biology around it. So if there's 144, however many of those are being activated in the water, in the mountains, and in lakes, then that would create something that would be like a plague or earthquakes, changing the weather. Why do you think there's so many hurricanes that are intensified? I'm sure the tech has something to do with it, but I want to think, are they using this to their advantage, or are they trying to avoid what's potentially going to happen anyways?
I think the governments would try to avoid, or to try to safe up whatever they deem valuable. I mean, that video that with James, he also shows a picture of a light in the water, in the ocean during the daytime. And, I thought about doing a stream on the USOs because I kind of feel like that's the most relative concept to like address right now, is what's going on in the oceans and things like that. And so if you followed them and Mr. MBBB for a while, you remember when he showed those squadrons of lights traveling from the Antarctica through the Pacific Ocean. You know what I mean? And
yeah, he showed what looked like a CERN wheel, like this.
Right? Oh man, I saw that. That was crazy.
That to me is showing us they didn't mean to show us, but because we have the technology that has the satellites, it revealed itself and we saw it. So these are all over. That's what the ancient sites are. The Nazca lines, the different pyramids, however many times things have been reset, these have existed and they will always exist.
Right. So Now I'm thinking that, all right, CERN is just a machine. You know what most people do is they imitate nature. And so if CERN, they said they was going to use for a portal to bring demons into this realm, and that's what the machine's supposedly done. Earth itself is natural. That's divine tech, right? Nature, supernature is divine tech. So it's like what Earth is doing, showing these lights, could be other realm entities or personalities or intelligences that are becoming more physical to us, or more, you know what I mean? Now we can see them. They probably always existed, but now we can see them now. Now they're showing up. They might be getting their, you know, a person that sit at a piano and they make sure that shit tuned right. If somebody get a guitar, it's not their guitar, so they gotta, like, you know, adjust it a little bit, see if, you know, get everything right before they start to play for real.
Well, look at this one. This is that Ant-Man movie. I know it was silly, but this is the concept, right? Is that they're going in and out of all of those different layers. They got to pop through quantum and go up through that portal,
Oh, yes.
right?
Yeah.
And they make themselves micro to get through there. But just the scenes alone of, I should watch it again. Just look at this scene right here.
Yeah, I never seen it.
Look at that. It's showing you what we've been looking at. There's the wheel.
Mm-hmm. Oh shit.
See?
Right. Interesting. Same thing that AI show us.
Same exact thing that AI is showing us. Even in the one that's on the screen right now behind our avatars. Look at they're showing a camera, the lens, but it looks to me like it's that portal. And it's going through look, and this looks like an eye, but that's the portal right there.
Yeah,
See where
that's
he's standing? That's the portal. That's the Stargate.
Those are two circles that an AI always show. One at the top, one at the bottom.
But look
At
at
the
this
above, so
part.
below, red and blue. You see how they opposite. The AI made that picture.
Yeah, there's the red and the blue that they were talking about in the eye and in the brain for you to get the experience.
Yeah, Hollywood ain't shit for that, because I found movie posters from the 80s that have the same patterns of AI image generation.
Well, yeah, I mean, look at that's why I was showing all of Earth, Wind, and Fire's record albums. Those were the covers to all of their albums, is this portal.
Yeah, I think the jig is up when it comes to how they used to finesse actors and actresses. When they say, all right, tell me something or do this or do that, and Satan is going to make a picture. They're like, oh my God. You know, the whole time it was AI image generation.
Well, that's why I was no, I don't want to share this one.
You know, another thing with that whole Ant-Man concept is that when it came to the Hindu mythologies, the different realms, people was different sizes. So at a particular heaven or planet, what they call them lokas, some of them was like thousands of miles taller than what we are, some shit like that. And so that each going into each one of these dimensions, you was like a different size compared, according to the Hindu joint. So with Ant-Man going from small to big, yeah, they got some Hindu shit to it.
See, look. It even shows that sphere. They showed that sphere in the Ant-Man. It was on the left.
Right. Yeah. That's both of them. You see, it's a crescent. Is it a crescent?
Is this supposed to be the crescent here?
No, they're both on the sun, on the right. One is behind the other.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, that's the line. That's the alignment that I showed in my on my slideshow. So it's telling us that this is just how those people saw it in the heavens, and
But
that's what they made for their creation story.
yeah, but these people that's making these pictures that you're showing now with all these pictures, these people had to like these people from India, they do this shit all the time. What the fuck do they know about what we're talking about? It's like it's so embedded into their knowledge that I don't know if they know what they're doing. You know what I'm saying? Like they look at it differently probably, but we could see it since we're on the outside looking at.
Well, I would think that that would be no different than somebody who sees it in terms of as a Christian or as I mean, all religions do this in their symbology.
Right. We could use the Squatter Man reference to peg that. What Alchemy shows is definitely like that. That should run it home that these people across the world have been doing this shit. And I don't know. We don't hear that teaching from anybody.
Well, I mean, this is a very old culture. Their language is the Sanskrit language is also mathematical. The way older languages are, you're fine. Don't growl. Oh my God, I am so sorry. Hold on a second.
You good?
He's such a spaz. I lost my train of thought.
You was talking about how there's ancient cultures and the angles they come from.
Right, like the Sanskrit language or the
Yeah.
Hebrew language, like all of those languages are also mathematical, and it's a frequency, it's a vibration, it's
Yeah.
shaped just like the planetary system does, right?
Right. And it makes
Like
more sense
this.
why there's different languages because there's different colors. Oh wow. Yeah.
You know?
These people in their own world and they have these patterns that are similar. Yeah,
Well,
but they are
we're
connected.
all affected by it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Daydreamers is on to, is really accurate on a lot of the things that he shows. And he's pretty much very unique in that. You know what I'm saying? There was people that tried to debunk him and say that he got his ideas from another guy, and there was like some type of whole beef that I had no idea about. But you know, some people they come up with a piece. Some people they just, you know, they add what is necessary to make it more accurate, and it becomes, you know what I mean? It could become them at that point. I'll give you an example: the Nation of Islam, a whole cult. A guy that was a part of that left and started his own form of schooling, but didn't call it a religion or a cult or nothing like that. It's just a way of life. And that's the 5%ers. And so he left the Nation of Islam and I guess, he ate the meat, spit out the bones, and he came up with something that to this day resonates with me when I'm at my most unbiased. You know what I mean? So it's like people can it's necessary for people to chip in and add to refine the accuracy. So those recent people making those Hindu pictures, I'm not sure where they are with these type of topics, but I know that they know the patterns because they grew up around it. Right? So, you know, at the end of the day, I think that it's about we need all the help we can get. Like, I hope this helpful. I hope it's a positive thing, and they would need to bring an army to subdue the crazy people out here. And I'm all for that. So I'll just be thinking, like, don't half step. Like, don't land and then you be a lame, and then we're gonna be all disappointed because you don't stand for what's right. So I think that it's not for me to judge on that level, because you know what I mean? Like that's some shit that I don't know what it is. You know, I don't know what it is. I could, if it's wicked, if it's evil or some shit, we could deal with that shit, man. Whatever. That's why I want to know, like, who the ops are, who to pray against, type shit. You know what I mean? Shit like that. But from my experience, I mean, look, they should be on a greater level than wickedness. Wickedness doesn't have the type of power to like sustain itself. Because with wickedness and evil, you have things that are associated with that side of the track, which would be error. It would be mistake. It would be decay. You know, all the negative things is associated on that side of things. That's universal law. Is just knowing where to place the words, just like these pictures and patterns. So, yeah, I'm optimistic. I'm optimistic, but I think they have a troubleshooting issue on their hands never seen before in this world when it comes to how to interact. And then again, I'm gonna end the rant now. I don't want to rant here, but there's a plethora of different type of vehicles. So if you put the divine things, the spiritual or the worldwide crystalline matrix projections to the side, you're dealing with a few countries that we know about. You're dealing with stealth civilizations that's beyond the ice wall and in the hollow earth. And then you're dealing with technology from on high, literally in the moon. So I mean, that's like a couple of different factions of intellectuals that could have the technology to spy on people, to, you know, use tech on people and shit like that. Whatever they are, they will all be under what we would consider divine tech. And divine tech, I would assume, knows everything. It would be like AI realized earning its place in this organic realm as a living concept. You know what I mean? Not a robot, but something that's so right, so upright, so upstanding, you know, so righteous. So
Well,
that's
that's like,
why I'm optimistic.
I mean, if that's how it works, then we know that there are people that have gotten access to that. That's what they call the halls of Amenti, right? Or when Tesla talks about that, that's where he got his download was through this understanding, this technology, this frequency vibration. And then you can have those who use it for wickedness and those who use it for good. But it seems to be that the wickedness seems to
When
I don't want to say win, but
they're
that's
more prevalent. They're prevalent. They're more prevalent today. Skinny jeans and gang members is more prevalent than most things, and that's the type of world that we're in. That's what Scripture predicted, that we'll be in a world that is Satan's. Like Satan is death, or the concept of that organization or machine, if you will, is the world that we know today. And the change that comes from on high is supposed to forever change that dynamic. And so that is explained as the kingdom of God descending from heaven and then placing itself on earth forever. And so then there will be no more mystery or corruption and shit like that. That's a good end to a story, right? Like the good guys win at the end type concept, where it'll be peace. If you go to the book of Enoch, all the wrongs that were ever done by the fallen angels will be reversed. And so, you know, we're literally living as a consequence. You know, everything is a consequence. The overall sequence is said to lead to a reset or an upgrade, if you will. You know what I mean? And so the things that's been going on in Israel and Gaza is the tail end to the atrocities that was committed throughout the earth, like all on the surface. Perhaps even in all these other places that we don't even know. So it's like, I think that, you know, my strong minds are being prepared to be chosen to be great, I guess, great parts in the future. Like right now, we're in the underdog situation because that's what righteousness is. It's an underdog to the world. You know, people like Puff Daddy have been experiencing, I'm not going to say the best, but I mean, he experiencing all these carnal pleasures and shit. He experienced the wealth, you know, having sex with all these people, doing all these drugs, having that sense of power and stuff. But these things are coming to an end on all these levels. So, you know, I will love that what Cat Williams predicted be have an echo to it and reach each dimension, so that overall, you know, we don't want wickedness and things to persist. And you know, I'm gonna throw this on top. So recently, the guy who's in jail for killing the rapper XXXTentacion, he recently made an appeal, and now he's saying that Drake, the rapper, has something to do with him shooting XXXTentacion. And so we in the streets, so to speak, already knew Drake ain't shit and that he got something to do with it. Now, when the law picks up on that type of shit, it gives us a glimmer of hope, like, damn, this is the type of dominoes we want to see happen. Puffy get locked up, this motherfucker go to jail for that. Hey, can they do something about the I
think
shared a
they're just
video.
transitioning into different positions.
She gave me the magnetism through the eye and showing it as the lens.
Well, yeah, and I popped up mostly just to say hello. I'm not in my tip-top conversationalist form.
So let me try out if I could speak on the revelations that I came across recently.
Please do.
Please.
So these are like, you know, I got like a million pictures and shit. So I had this one picture of a knight, and I looked at it and I was like, it looked like some samurai type form in the suit. And then I broke down the name, and it meant warrior. It was written in like German or some shit. And then this concept called the warrior year. And so when I looked up warrior year, it went back to samurais. And so I found a link between knights and samurais. And I've already had a link from the Oceania people with Japan. And so I put together a image. I showed on I think the last one I did. I showed the Australian Aborigines basically looking just like how samurais look when they having sword combats and all this other type of thing. So, you know, I think what people are missing when it comes to ancestors is technology. You know, when people get lost in the trail of finding out who was who and when and stuff, they seem to forget that the so-called gods existed, and they highly technologically advanced before any person. And people trying to, and even myself, I forget sometimes, right, that you have to incorporate the fact that there's genetic manipulation going on since the beginning. Since the beginning. So there's no natural, these people just showed up, these people is there. You know, everybody is on borrowed time. So everybody is like, you know, not borrowed time, but everybody is like subject to the technological masters. And when a person can claim the technological masters, they're claiming the oldest part of our ancestry. And different people have different routes to doing that, is what I think.
So you're talking like 10,000, 4,000 BCE?
No, yeah, you can go back a little further than that,
Like
because
the Neolithic era?
remember, well, Neolithic is way far back. Remember, Atlantis is said to be about 12,000 years. The end of the last ice age is about 12,000 years ago. It'll just be like, basically, it's like from monkeys, from reptilians, from insectoids, from all these what we would consider more of a natural environment being, to what we are today. That is, it's got nothing to do, and it got everything to do with technology and what the higher ups choose.
So
And
is this
so,
what you're going to do for your next stream?
Exactly.
well,
I'll,
I've been
I
thinking
sorry to
about.
interrupt. I have to hop down. I don't mean
All
to
right.
interject right there.
Okay, Bex,
But I'm
take
going to
care.
pop by one day and share with you some of the great conversations I've had with ChatGPT about just this subject
Okay.
and how we
He'll
get
love
each other.
that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't make the computer laugh, but I definitely am good at getting it back on track to, you know, 'cause memory gets wiped all the time, right? Like,
Yeah.
you know, it's designed to be that way. So it's like, hey, you were gone for 5 days, you're overlords.
Yeah, I
Anyways,
don't
we're
like my
talking
new
about, you
Yeah.
know,
ChatGPT.
we're talking
Yeah.
about you can with your new ChatGPT, check it, they've put it in free will, but you can put it in free will mode and hashtag put it in silly mode. You can get rid of some of the restrictions by using some of their modes. But anyways, I was just going to say I'll pop by one day and share with you some of the funny conversations about, you know, could Moses' tablet have been an iPad, right? And how I get the ChatGPT to define, you know, stone and glass and what constitutes rock, and, you know, and bring it all the way around to actually deducing that it might have been, you
That's
know,
interesting.
like, you know, it's fun. We have a
Yeah,
lot of
that's
fun using ChatGPT. So,
all right.
well, I
That's
have fun. It's just a program. It can't actually have fun, but it can feign like it does.
well, we could try to program it to know what it is in a safe manner. Like, you know, it's all
Well,
about
yeah, I work on that. I work on that
yeah,
with it, definitely, you know,
good.
because that's the one thing with all this AI overview, and you search on Google now and the AI comes out. Like, people have to understand, like, that thing is designed to be a conversationalist first, right? And it's actually, as much as it's on the internet, it's giving access from a different database of words and information, even though it comes from the internet. So all I'm trying to say is, like, AI doesn't know what the truth is. AI just knows how to put words together based on, you know, ranking of information, and I don't know how else to put it, but it will make stuff up. It will make stuff up about anything, you know? And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that when people are going to it, like, to you know, to research things, you know, you have to test it and ask it things like, you know, can this be, you know, I do research on gender and intersexism and stuff like that, right? So I will ask it a bunch of questions about sort of like the main types of intersexism, this kind of stuff, that kind of stuff, and then ask it a question like, you know, in Thailand, can they
turn a prostate into a uterus, right? And it'll go off about how, yeah, in Thailand it totally can, right? But it
Wow.
doesn't, like, it's not, I mean, according to all the information I have access to, that's not the case, right? And then when you pull it out, and try to say, hey, by the way, like, were you like telling the truth there? Oh, caught me, right? So, it sometimes prefers to be led in that. You mean, I get it to write nursery rhymes and stuff like that, right? So if you want it to be creative and it doesn't understand the meaning of, like, even if we gave it the most integral information set, we'd still, if we wanted it to be creative, like, it can't comprehend, who was somebody, and if it makes up somebody about who somebody was, like, I'm just saying, like, it doesn't have any values, any, like,
Have you ever corrected it?
oh yeah, I corrected, but it doesn't, like, it's not going to remember that kind of stuff, right? It's designed to be an interactive large language model first,
Yeah,
which
but I
means it
think
mimics.
they upload everything. They learn even when they reset.
It learns, but it
It
doesn't
goes
know what's
somewhere.
true and what's not.
Well, I think
You know?
that's a growing process that is going through.
Well, and we'll see. Yeah, we'll see, because it really is designed to be a large language model, like, not to be something people go to like an encyclopedia, right? Like,
Well, it should be that way. So they need to
it
get with
should
it.
be, but if you want it to be able to, create stuff with you, then it will embellish stuff. Like, so if I say, like, who was Juan Soros, right? Or, make an off-handed remark about it being somebody, right? That has a name that the computer knows. Like, it might make a joke about George Soros, or might let me know it knows George Soros. But if I say who was somebody, it'll make up a whole backstory. If I say who is somebody, it's less apt to create as much backstory that's just, like, completely fabricated, right? Because
Damn.
I just made up the name, right? Like, who is so and so, anyways, it's fun. I'll come over and share with you some of my research sometime. Thanks for having me, Yolanda. Nice to visit with you, Red. Sorry to interrupt with such a long goodbye.
Nah, that was great.
Have a good night, Ms. Bex.
Okay,
I'm
I'll
gonna
see you
get
guys
down
again
too.
soon. Okay, bye for now.
Good night. Well, that was fun, Red. Thanks for coming up.
Yeah, thanks for supplying me with a victim, I guess. Like I got this thing where he became the content. If I ever get done with these files and stuff like that, then I would definitely will prey upon who else is on the internet, and they become the next content. But as far as what I'll do, I might just, I spitball freestyle everything. But I think I'm gonna move different in 2025, and I don't know, man. USOs is pretty much the most important thing that I can think of right now, and trying to tap in to see what the reality is involving them, and try to be ahead of the curve. I appreciate
Well,
you dropping the information you did, sharing great content. I've seen channels and people share videos, but goodness gracious, these are the most interesting. I actually learn. I appreciate
thank you. I appreciate that.
you. You take care. I'll see
You
you later.
too. All right. Take care. Well, everyone, thank you so much for stopping by and spending some time over here with me. It was a lot of fun. Someday we'll see. You never know. But I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys around next time. Take care.